Welcome guys for the day 3 for ALD4.0 and the today schedule is on the screen. You can see it will be taken by Farshad on PB segment, followed by Shailesh on a capital goods engineering company, and then Sanjay ji will talk about an automobile company, OEM for automobiles. Then Sumit will take us through the one aerospace and defense company. Then we have two audience lucky draws. So we'll do somewhere after presentation 1 and 2, we'll have one lucky draw. And then presentation 3 and 4, we will have another lucky draw. So we have total three. So two in the morning session and one in the evening session for the audience. Afternoon, we will have a presentation by Anup ji on the recycling and refurbishing company. And there is one change from yesterday. Initially, there was a plan for presenting a water treatment company, but now it is replaced by the chemicals company. Shubham will take it up, and then I will be presenting on an engineering and electrical company, and then we'll close the session. So time format remains same, roughly 40 minutes for each presenter, and also the audience lucky draw will have the fastest fingers first. So you can choose from the books, gifts, or vouchers, and I will connect with you there. Okay, so you have to choose the options there. So let's start. I will hand over to Arshad for the same today, and he will lead us for the session. So Farshad, you can start sharing.
Sure, Puneet.
Yes, we can see your screen.
You can see the screen, right? And I'm clearly audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, morning, everyone. My name is Farshad, and as Puneet mentioned, I'll be sort of presenting on Interarch today, which is a company in the PEB segment, which is pre-engineered building. So the agenda for today, let me go to the next slide. Yes, so the agenda for today, I've sort of kept it very simple. I'll be spending a bit of time on the industry because that itself is sort of, major part of the thesis, according to me, for Interarch. And then I'll be sort of, doing a bit of overview about the Interarch, the specific triggers, the specific strengths, and the current status, etc. And then we'll go on to probably what, according to me, the least important, the projections, because it's always subjective, but still I've taken a shot at it. So we'll go through some financial projections depending on their order book, guidance, etc. And then I'll close it over, with the risk as well before we move on to some question and answers. So that's the agenda, straightforward, simple. So I'll get started with the PEB industry itself. So what is PEB, right? The pre-engineered building. So sort of very simply, it's a sort of a building where different components, primarily steel, they are manufactured at a factory. And all of that is sort of brought onto the site and assembled. So that's basically the simplest definition. And the process that typically gets followed is that once an order is given to a PEB company, it sort of, gets into the design phase. This typically happens with most of the tier 1 companies like Interarch. For some of the tier 2 companies, the designer might be, someone else, and then just the order along with designs are given. So that design component is a bit of a optional part depending on whether that PEB supplier has a capability or not. So, but once the design is done, it goes directly into the manufacturing phase, where at the factory, all of these different steel components, according to the design and requirements of the client and the required building, are done. Then it's transported. So that's why logistics is a very, very important part. The logistics suppliers that a PEB company has plays an important role. Then it goes on there, gets assembled, the fit outs, and delivered. Pretty much, that's about it. So that basically, in a sort of small gist, what is PEB and typically, what these guys do. But I wanted to sort of, spend a bit of time as to why we are sort of, talking today about, the PEB industry, and why I'm particularly, a little bit, positive on this one. So there are key industry growth drivers here. So, as you can see here, and I'll deep dive into, all of these 5 points, but definitely an increasing awareness of PEB. So points to a nascent industry that has hit the growth phase. And I'm sort of, mentioned various data points there. And currently, it's a low share of PEBs in overall construction. Still, the dominant share of the construction type in India is RCC, which is the typical legacy way of constructing. But compared to, the global world, it's at a very low percentage. So that's where, again, going back to the point, it's a nascent industry and huge growth potential ahead. And again, specifically in India, increasing industrial and infra capex. And what does it mean for the construction part of that capex? I'll spend a little bit of time there. And new specific sectors are opening up for PEB, and like the data centers, etc. And again, I'll spend a bit of time there. And very, very important trigger is the move to organized play. And this basically plays very well into the listed players such as Interarch. So let's spend a bit of time into, each of these industry trigger specifically. So as I mentioned earlier, like RCC, which is, the typical legacy way of construction, is still the dominant play, no doubt about it. But there is an increasing awareness and acceptance of PEB. So what I did here was, as you can see, along the major important parts of, choosing between RCC and PEB, I've just, compared them. So from an applications perspective, RCC, pretty much cuts across, most of the construction type, which is residential, industrial, and infrastructure. These three are the major construction type. When you compare it to PEB, PEB is largely industrial and infrastructure as of now. Residential wise, it's very, very low as a percentage, probably, 3 to 4% of the overall residential market. And this is also, one of the positive triggers for players like Interarch, because that's where, one of the growth triggers is also coming in. The major raw material for RCC, again, as you can imagine, cement, steel, sand, bricks, etc. I'm 100% sure all of you guys are aware of, how a typical building is constructed and what are the raw materials. Comparing it to PEB, it's mostly, the steel, anchor channels, etc. It's very heavily based on that. Construction location, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, PEB is the manufacturing of all of the different components is fully in factory. It's only the assembly and foundation that is done at site. You compare it to RCC, it's fully done on site. And that's where, a bit of the time saving also comes in, which I'll, show in the following slides. Manpower, according to different industry reports, specifically a CRISIL PEB industry report, almost 25% lesser than the RCC route, which, sort of goes into the cost savings as well. Customization, again, more so possible in RCC, but it's definitely complex and a bit costly to do those alterations. PEB-wise is manageable, but it has to be sort of, done very early at the design and manufacturing stage, because once it's sort of designed and manufactured, then, you pretty much have to just go there and assemble. So it's very much manageable, but it depends at what stage, the customization request comes in. ESG, very, very, very important point. Because when you compare it to RCC, there is significant waste and landfill mass. As you can imagine, cement, sand, bricks, etc. And in a PEB world, it's a very controlled environment, because majority of the work, one, is done in the factory. So basically minimum wastage. And then steel, which is the main raw material in PEB, is very, very easy to recycle. And the trend, if you can sort of, go through, typical, all the annual reports of most of the companies, they are looking at sustainability, right? So the sustainable buildings, green buildings is a very, very big theme, which is also playing into, the concept of PEB as well. And probably, according to me, the two most important factors why PEB is gaining traction is the duration and cost. So as you can see here, from a duration perspective, it's almost 40% to 50% faster than the typical RCC way. And from a cost perspective, again, it sort of depends on the height of the building, the area of the building. So it's between 3% to 4%, depending on what we call the span, which I'm going to sort of talk about in the upcoming slides. But as I mentioned earlier, for clients, especially, the big clients, the duration and cost are very, very important as part of decision making. So from a duration perspective, right, I mentioned earlier, it's almost 40% to 50% without compromising on deliverable quality. That's the time saving. So typically, very, very simply put, the RCC construction schedule is something like you design the building, you get the permits and approvals, then at the site, the developments and foundations happen, the building construction and site installation, right? This is pretty much set in stone. When you compare it to a PEB schedule, the first two steps remain the same, which is the design and engineering and permits and approval. But the site development and foundations, in parallel, the construction of the PEB components start in parallel. So there is no sort of, step-by-step process, especially, from the third step. So at the site, the foundation sort of, starts getting built, and at the same time, the PEB manufacturer, starts building up or manufacturing, the different components. And then, as I mentioned earlier on my first slide, all of this is transported to the building, and, the installation and site installation happens. So the number of steps itself, because of, parallel activities that happen here, are lesser. And that sort of, contributes to the time saving, which is to the tune of 40 to 50%. The other one I sort of mentioned earlier was about the cost. Okay. So there is a concept called, the clear span, which is the difference between, the two major supports in a PEB building. So as the building sort of, gets higher and, a bit larger, the amount of, cost savings gets a little lesser. But most of, the standard buildings, whether it's in industrial or infrastructure space, falls within a clear span of, 30 or less. So basically, you can still get a very, very high cost savings. But even though the new buildings, the new warehouses, the new data centers are going to be huge, and they are going to exceed this clear span of, 30, 40 meters, the cost savings would sort of, be less, but clients are still going for it because one, it's sturdier than an RCC building. Number two, definitely faster. And number three, from an ESG perspective, it's greener and it's sustainable. But again, for the standard buildings, the cost benefits can be as high as 50%. But again, it depends on the complexity, depends on, the height and, the clear span as well. So that was, the first point as to, the PCC versus PEB versus RCC, and why there is an increasing acceptance of PEB. Now, the second point I mentioned as an industry trigger was the huge potential to increase the PEB share, right? So what you see here on the left-hand side, so there's all, Indian data, so Indian construction sector data. So as the percentage of the overall sector in FY19, on an average, the PEB sector contribution was only, 3%, which was, between 2 to 4%. Currently, as we speak, very recently, end of FY24, it went up to, approximately 4%. And then in the next 3-4 years, it's going to go up to 6%. So still very less. But even if you see the construction industry is going, and as a percentage of it is going, and it's going to sort of, go at least by, 50% or so, the amount of PEB contribution. But the point here that I'm trying to make is it's a very nascent industry, and it's an inflection point because of increasing acceptance of that product. And one of the main reasons and indicators is, on the right-hand side, the low steel consumption. Now, when you compare the amount of PEB contribution in construction space in, developed areas or, developed countries or Western worlds like, US, Europe, Australia, etc., there, the number of, or rather the percentage of PEB as construction is as high as between 30 to 50%. That is because a lot of steel consumption happens, and they believe in, the sturdiness, the speed, and the cost reductions of, the PEB buildings. And typically, it's said that a good indicator of a country moving from, backward to developing to developed stage is the amount of steel consumption per capita. So as you can see here, India is still, quite low in there compared to, some of the developed countries, especially in the Western world. So that's why this increasing steel consumption is sort of mandatory, because it increases the speed and volume of industrial development. And that's where, when I go to, some of the industries that are opening up for PEB, it's also, very critical for the overall Indian construction space to adopt this product at a much faster rate. Now, the third one I spoke about, right? There is definitely increasing industrial capex, infrastructure capex, etc. And this high percentage of this capex would go towards construction. So the numbers that you see here in, in these two graphs are the construction numbers as part of it overall. For example, say in industrial, it said that between 2020 to 2024, almost 3.5 trillion worth of construction capex was done, and that will go to 5 trillion in the next 4 years, which is a 43% jump. And similarly in the infrastructure space. So just to give an example, right? when you construct a warehouse, almost 35% of that cost goes towards construction. Now imagine, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's chemicals, whether it's pharma, whether it's renewables, whether it's data centers, a lot of this cost, almost 30% to 40%, depending on the industry, goes towards the construction. So, and as we saw earlier, the amount of PEB as percentage of this construction is going up. So what I did was, just sort of, put all of this together. So if the overall construction in the next 4 years, CapEx in India goes by 50% and the PEB contribution grows from 4% to 6%. So the overall FY28 PEB industry becomes 2.25 times of FY24. And I also have a proof point of this, which I'm going to sort of, talk about in the upcoming slides. But this is basically, one of the most important triggers, the industry itself. In the next 4 years, if this PEB industry becomes 2.25 times, how many of, the industries that, we typically sort of go about researching sort of gets there? And that's why I'm consistently saying this industry is an inflection point and very, very sort of, interesting to study and see if we can do something about it from an investment perspective. Now, the next sector, or rather the next point was, there are new sectors opening up for PEB as well. So warehousing, especially, is, one of the most important use cases for PEB, because typically these are very, very simple to manufacture, but at the same time, the PEB manufacturer has to make sure that the design of the building is in such a way that the space utilization is very well done, and all of the other things such as, the load, etc., are managed very well. But warehousing is one of the sectors that are growing, that one is growing up as a sector itself, and the PEB intake in warehousing is going in. And some of the reasons I mentioned here, right? There is increasing e-commerce and cold storage requirements. According to reports, the sector itself is growing at 15% CAGR, and the PEB penetration as of FY23 was 38%, roughly give or take 40%. And then at the end of FY28, it's expected to go to 60%, which is roughly, a 50% jump. So huge PEB traction in the warehousing space. And one of the other reasons as to why, one, warehousing is going is because of the GST impact, because pre-GST, there were a lot of interstate taxes. So typically, companies sort of, put multiple warehouses in different states, etc., to sort of manage this thing, smaller, medium-sized warehouses, to save on these taxes. But post GST, because it's just one India-wide taxing system, this hub and spoke model is coming up quite a bit. So that's why huge modern warehouses are built as hubs, and very smaller, very sort of, distribution sort of smaller warehouses are there in, other states. And one of the very good examples from this is Indospace. Probably is, since it's, not a listed player, a lot of us don't hear about it. I also heard about it only, doing the research about this report. So Indospace is one of the clients for Interarch, and post this GST sort of announcement, they sort of, so basically, sorry, just to take one step back, Indospace is sort of, they manufacture warehouses and then they lease it to a different companies for usage, and different type of warehouses, whether it's cold storage, e-commerce, etc. as well. So these guys post GST created 10 large, huge modern warehouses and hubs. And most of these, I think if I remember right, 8 out of 10 went to Interact, which was because of, the long-term relationships. So this was just to sort of, give an example of the developments in this space, and the amount of PEB contribution is increasing and the potential there. And data centers and renewables is definitely, one of the new sectors that are opening up. So data center wise, again, we know that new policy, data centers are declared as an essential service. Huge data localization laws are there. So, definitely the data needs to be stored in Indian data centers. So whether it's a US company or Indian company, they need to have their data centers based here. And that's why there is going to be huge data center investment, not only by hyperscalers, such as, the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, Google. We saw a recent news by Microsoft on, their huge data center investment as well. This sector itself will grow by 30% CAGR. And these are, very sort of capex heavy, construction heavy sector. And again, from a renewables perspective, probably, most of us know what's happening in renewables, huge capex, huge plants, that are going to sort of, put up. And sort of, I was just watching a video by, one of the very good sort of investors in the Indian scene. I think Ish Mohit all knows. So I was just watching his video, and one of the things that he mentioned, especially around PEB, was that he was doing some scuttlebutt, and he met a renewables sort of supplier, so solar module manufacturer, and he asked, like, there's a big factory, and how much time did it take for you to put it up? And the answer was just 4 months, literally 4 months from design to manufacture to set up. I'm decently sure, the design would have been simple, etc. But just imagine a huge factory for renewables from design to manufacture to set up and delivering just 4 to 5 months. That's amazing. And that is what one of the good things about PEB is, which is attracting others. And finally, I mentioned earlier in my presentation, PEB percentage as part of building construction industry-wide is very, very less today, especially in India, which is probably, around 0.5% or so. When you compare to industrial infrastructure, it's like bare minimal, and that's where a huge scope is there for all the PEB guys, including Interarch. One of the things that is required for residential buildings, whether it's residential, like where we live actually, or hospitals or educational institutions, is these guys require large size steel structures, which is typically manufactured by actual steel makers such as JSPL. And that's why Interarch and other players are getting into partnerships with these guys to give this large size steel structure so that they can enter into this building space as well. So this was one of the points on not only the typical legacy industries that are there for PEB, but new sectors are also opening up. And again, this point was mentioned in the Nuvama report as well, that there's a significant traction due to increasing demand from sectors such as warehousing, data centers, renewables, etc. All the points that I mentioned earlier. And then the last point, and probably very, very important point as well, is that the industry today is largely dominated by unorganized players. Okay, the organized players, currently, as of now, it's between 40 to 45%. And in the next 4 or 5 years, that's going to go up by another 5 to 10% each. So for the organized players, okay, the good news is that there are only very, very few players, and Interarch is one of them. So as you can see here, these are, pretty much the 6 key players: Interarch, Kirby, Pennar, MNB, Everest, and Zamir. And Interarch, Pennar, and Everest are, I'm sure all of you guys know, are listed companies. The others are not as of now. And I'm also going to talk about in the subsequent section why Interarch is, one of the most tier 1 companies. But again, very, very fragmented industry, but in the organized space, it's very consolidated. So it's, two worlds living in one. And the percentage of organized is only going to increase. A very good example of, the benefits of industry consolidating towards organized is the jewelry space. So again, the trigger for a lot of guys like, the Senkos, the Kalyans, etc., apart from, their growth, is that because of, the GST and, other laws and regulations, etc., the move towards unorganized to organized happens. And all of these guys, got an industry-based trigger as well. So I mentioned earlier that, according to the CRISIL calculations, if I put everything together, the industry will probably, become 2.25 times of what it is now in 3 to 4 years, right? And this was also mentioned by Nuvama as one of their reports, where they actually did a bit of scuttlebutt based on meeting with the likes of Kirby, Pennar, Interarch, etc. And their comment was very simple. The industry is projected to double in size in the next 3 to 4 years, with organized players growing at a faster rate than unorganized counterparts. So again, my message remains the same: very nascent industry, growing at a fast pace. And even in that sort of, specific pocket, the organized players are going to get much more a share compared to the unorganized players. So again, as I mentioned earlier, like, why organized players have the right to win? Why can't, an unorganized player keep growing at the same, fast pace? So there are, some advantages of being an organized player, and especially, if you are big, that's even better. So, let me go through it, very quickly, experience-wise. So credibility is very, very, very important when it comes to PEB building, because one, you're dealing with the design of it, manufacturing of it, and then the logistics of it. A lot of it is done outside of the site, number one. And number two, when it comes to the seal structures, a lot of safety regulations, a lot of construction regulations also apply additionally. So a lot of credibility and, the industry standards, the quality of projects becomes very, very important. So it's not very easy for a new guy just to break into the top tier of PB and just gain the market share. And that's what also is one of the trigger for Interact as well. Once I sort of moved to my second section, design capability. Again, the experienced players have design capabilities and experience that runs into decades of it. So typically the client would come up and give the requirement. So then the player, if it's a tier one player with its own design team, they would need to come up with the optimal space utilization, optimal integration of the different components, then seeing which industry it is, how the design should be. So it's very, very sort of a critical differentiating factor as to how you design the overall architecture, structure, etc. Project management. Now you can just imagine, right? I mean, one, there are designers, then there are manufacturing company, then there's logistics company, then there are different suppliers from you procure the consumables and machining parts as well, and then you have the builders who you take on contract on a project basis. So many different stakeholders, and then you need to sort of finish a project typically in 2 to 4 quarters. So the amount of coordination that one would require in coming up with a PEB building is immense. So that's why this project management expertise is a very, very critical factor in differentiating, the good versus bad. And then manufacturing and operations, obviously, PEB is, I would say it's not a construction space. It's mostly, manufacturing come construction space. So the construction side of it, which is design and project, is probably, as important as, the manufacturing side of things as well. And this is where operating leverage, how you sort of, do your operations becomes super important. And again, very critical trigger for Interact as well. And I'll sort of, do a deep dive in the next section. And then finally, ecosystem relationships. So, again, I mentioned in the project management expertise point, there are multiple stakeholders here, suppliers, your logistics, your labor, etc. So all of these networks need to be sort of very well established for you to deliver on time and, on cost as well. And, the larger PEB volumes provide higher bargaining power with suppliers. So the more you sort of win orders by being good in other aspects, it's, even better at it. So these are some of the areas, why organized players have the right to win in PEB. So summary of it, at the end of the first section, let's take, the Porter's 5 forces analysis. So overall, I would say it's a tough industry if you are an unorganized player. But if you are an organized player with existing leadership, you have very, very clear differentiation. So if I do the Porter's 5 analysis for the overall sector, probably it will look different. But I did it for the organized sector because Interact is in them and their competition is in here, right? So the threat of new entrants is actually a little low. Because it's low for organized sector, it's very high for unorganized because it's a medium capital outlay, and it's very easy to sort of put up that in an unorganized way and get a pen to it. Power of customers, I would say it's medium because they value prior relationships, they value experience, they value what sort of work you have done, what sort of capabilities that you have. So it's not just a very hardcore bidding process and then you just go and win it. So yes, it's a bit mix of it. Power of suppliers, again, it's medium because you have decent number of suppliers for steel, the manufacturing equipment, and other consumables. The top end suppliers are limited, but there are still decent number of suppliers. So the power of suppliers have rated it medium. Competitive intensity, again, it's not low, it's not high. Especially in the organized place, you have only 4 or 5 key organized players. But because it's still a smaller industry and it will go up, so I've rated it medium. If it was a very big industry and then only 4 or 5 key organized players, then I would have probably rated it low. And then finally, threat of substitutes, especially in the PEB space, it's low because RCC is the only available substitute, but it has very, very clearly different use cases compared to PEB. So that's why I've rated it low. So overall, the message is, as I mentioned earlier, it is a tough industry, but if you are an existing player with decades of relationship, with decades of capability that is built inside, then, you are in a very, very good sweet spot as of now. So that basically, was a bit on, the PEB industry in India and, why it's probably, the most important thesis point according to me. So moving forward, as per the agenda, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be spending a little bit of time on the specific things about Interarch and, what's, some of the good things that they are doing and why they are sort of, considered a tier one supplier and what's their right to win within this, small organized space. So very quickly, from a business portfolio perspective, they do the complete PEBs on a turnkey basis, but they also manufacture, the related elements inside it, which is, the metal ceilings, the steel structures, the framing systems, etc. But the PEB turnkey contract, where they do the design, the manufacturing, the installation, transportation, delivery, etc., is pretty much 90 to 95% of their, overall business. As I mentioned earlier, the bottom right, if you guys can observe, the revenue from operations from a building and construction perspective, it's barely anything, and that's where one of their focus areas is in the next 4 5 years as well. But it's mostly given by the infrastructure construction and industrial construction. From a building perspective, it's barely anything, and that's where they are sort of focusing on through their partnership with the JSPL. Okay, very quickly, the management team. Arvind Nanda is the managing director, been with the company since its inception. Manish Kumar Garg is the CEO. Most of the investor interactions, con calls, etc. These two gentlemen, Arvind and Manish Kumar, manage the show. It's a very sort of lean company. These two gentlemen have been there for quite a long time. Especially Manish has been previously associated with Everest Industries and Safal Building. So Everest Industries is a listed peer of Interarch, and Safal Building System is an unlisted, unorganized player. But again, being in the industry, very focused, no other business verticals to focus on, and yeah, we're very competent guys as far as I've read about how they explain very passionately about their industry, go into details, with the answers, the current status of the industry, current status of Interarch, and what are the key triggers, what are the new type of clients that they are working on. I believe whosoever is interested in knowing more about it, the con calls are sort of gold mine for understanding about the industry and why Interarch is doing so well here. I also wanted to spend a bit of time on the top tier clientele, because this is very, very important. So what you see here is just a very small snapshot of their overall clientele, both with respect to industry and the number of clients as well. I was actually struggling to sort of choose between which examples to put in here, because on their website probably it's 10 times more than this. But the message on this slide for me is that, one, different types of industry. All of the con calls, all of the investor presentations of Interarch, they take immense pain and time to focus on this point, that we are industry agnostic. We sort of work across the industries, which very, very probably Kirby is their only competition, which is an unlisted space as of now, which has this depth and breadth of coverage across all the industries, and that's why they have been growing at such a huge scale. So whether you see automotive, chemicals, FMCG, warehousing, pharma, power, renewables, I mean, all of these guys, most of these guys have solid sector tailwinds, and they are investing into capex. And as I mentioned earlier, 30 to 40% is going to go into construction, and that's when Interarch is winning orders left, right, and center. And then also one of the things that I wanted to highlight was the presence of Japanese clients, German clients, etc. These guys typically, again, as mentioned by both in Nuvama's industry report and as well as a lot of conversations in con calls with Interarch, is that these guys are very, very strict when it comes to the quality, both of design, execution, project management, delivery, the on time, on cost, and everything. When you have the top tier Japanese clients, the top tier German clients coming to you again and again, giving you repeat orders, it just talks about your capabilities and your reputation within the industry. So again, Interarch sort of mentioned it, so I'm assuming they will mention it because they are talking about them. But according to them, whenever especially an American or Japanese clients comes in India and look out for PEB supplier, they are the first port of call because of their clientele, because of their experience, because of their credibility within the industry. So that's what they mentioned. And again, I'm taking it with a pinch of salt, but I won't be surprised if it's true as well. So this was a bit of it on the top tier clientele as well. So I mentioned earlier, 5 points regarding what is the right to win for the organized players, right? So what I also did was, okay, so how does Interarch stack up against these 5 factors? So from an experience perspective, these guys are the earliest entrants in the PEB space. What I mean by it, in 1983, this company was established. They were actually the first PEB company to be sort of, established in India. So they go that way back, okay? Cross-industry body of work, as I mentioned earlier on the last slide, because they have spent the time in the industry for decades and decades, they have built this cross-industry body of work with the best of clients and, with different types of projects and buildings. And just wanted to sort of, mention this comment as well, which I picked up, that, so one of them asked that, okay, you have a bit of competition both in organized space, etc. So, how do you win orders? So their answer was like, orders are not decided on L1 or, the cost basis, etc., but it's decided on relationships, ability and capability to design, engineer, and execute. So that's why even when I was explaining the Porter's force analysis, the power of customers, I rated it as medium, right? Because if it was just an L1, who is, sort of bidding lowest, etc., I'll give you the order, then, the point of experience, the point of, having a body of work doesn't exist. And that is what is one of a very, very important trigger for Interact as well. And this is where, I'll sort of, take just 2 minutes to walk you through what they talk about, Tata Motors is in one of their case studies, right? So they mentioned that, the first green automotive manufacturing plant built in India, it was done by Interact for Tata Motors. But there's something more important that, I wanted to focus on. So they say that we designed, produced, erected, and delivered almost all but one Tata Motor manufacturing plant. And we missed that only because of, some unforeseen difficulties faced in Singur, which is, one of their locations. So over multiple decades, whenever Tata Motor manufacturing plants have come in, Interarch has done it. Tata Motors have gone back to them and again and again and again. So this is why the relationships, the credibility and brand plays a big role, especially for organized players at working at, with the big clients. Another point, okay, the next statement was, even after having a sister company in Tata Group as our competitor, we have been instrumental in providing and satisfying all the growing needs, not only of Tata Motors, but other major automotive players as well. So Tata Group has, a PEV company within its, sort of group, but still they, sort of give orders to Interarch. So you can just imagine the amount of credibility, the amount of brand, the amount of reputation that Interarch has in it. And again, just another comment there, we have more than 2 decades of, delivery, more than 5 green manufacturing plants, over 100 buildings for Tata Motors, and we constructed this specific plant in record time, etc. But, the main point for me from, reading about this case study was the type of relationships that these guys have established. And these guys, talk about the other clients, in the same way. So going back to, the 5 points for Interarch. The second one was, again, around design capability. So these guys have invested, again, over decades into building 3 design centers. I believe one is in Chennai, one is in northern region. I'm forgetting the third one, but it's a moot point. But basically, they have 3 design centers, 125 plus engineers, and they use the latest technology as well to be, ahead of the game. And again, one of the comments that these guys mentioned is that a hell lot depends on how good your engineering and design team is. And the further comment was, our reputation is built not because of our speed, not because of we saved some costs, etc. Our reputation is built because we started impressing the clients right from the day one where design starts, and that's where they start to see how good Interact is, because we must have done similar type of projects in their industry 100 times. We bring to the table all of those best practices, that design experience, and wow the client right on day one, and then keep wowing them through, the good execution and delivery towards the end. But they keep on insisting that, this engineering and design team, how important it is. And guys, whether it's PEB industry, whether it's a software company, whether it's, any other company, all of us know, working in different industries, the design capabilities, whenever something technical comes in, acts like a differentiator for a company. And this is where, I wanted to sort of spend a little bit of time on another case study, but I'll sort of combine that with, the project manager expertise as well. Again, as I mentioned earlier, project management is very, very critical because of, different stakeholders involved. So they have a 120 plus just dedicated project team of project directors, project managers, project engineers. And then they have, not on their paybook, but they have carefully vetted, approved, and trained 50 plus builder organizations, which they take it on, project by project basis. But again, the comment from them, and this was also something that was validated in the Novama industry report, was that we deliver projects on and before time. Our reputation is that of a top-notch player with best-in-the-class execution. So this is where, some interesting, examples from their work as well. And probably this, I really love this example because this is from the Indira Gandhi International Terminal 3 case study. So this is supposedly the second largest integrated terminal building of its kind in Asia. So when Interarch was called in, they were given only a small part of the overall project. Okay, so their comment was, we were asked to come in and only consider responsibilities for 175,000 square meters of a huge structure, right? And then these guys sort of saw that okay, IGI is actually looking for more pre-engineered steel structural system, but they are planning to do most of the work on site rather than do it in a typical PEB way. So again, I highlighted here, due to its years of experience in structural steel design, Interarch actually went back to IGI and proposed that, hey, listen, I mean, there are advantages of considering a pre-engineered structural steel system, and we'll do it in our factory and come here and do it. And this will save you 30% in steel tonnage and as well as cut your construction time by almost half. And the entire design engineers actually sat with them, showed their entire designs, plans, prior experience where they have done it. They managed to convince IGI and they won the entire project fully. Now, this is why I'm saying again and again, the amount of capabilities, design capabilities, experience, credibility, prior similar projects that you have done, this is a very, very critical differentiator for a PEB manufacturer. And that's where, Interarch sort of, scores much, much above others as well. Another example that, I quickly want to sort of take you through is, BHEL. This is probably, a bit of more a project management example, but again, this sort of, talks about their expertise in the power sector. But they also say that, listen, until now, there's been very less penetration, in few sectors. And one of them is, the growing power sector. And they're also saying that the need of power is growing at a very fast pace. All of us know it. I mean, the type of returns that's, the returns and business performances that power stocks have given, everyone knows. But the message is that the supply is not able to keep it up. Okay. And BHEL had a very stringent timeline, and they just gave the project to Interarch, and the location was so remote that it was difficult to find even unskilled labor. So Interarch has to arrange for workers from as far as 30 kilometers. And another major concern was monsoon and rains. I mean, this is a long case study, but I've just highlighted the important ones as well. But the main message was that in spite of labor not being available, in spite of remote locations, in spite of uneven soft oils, in spite of stringent timeline, complex building design, these guys sort of, because of their experience, managed all of this only because of their very strong project management expertise. They see, project management expertise is not only about coordination, right? It's also about risk management. It's also about thinking 2 steps ahead and thinking about, okay, for this project step to be successful, what are the different steps need to happen? Where are the risks? How can I sort of do things not in step A but step B, different ways? All of this comes from experience. So that's why I've highlighted very clearly, one, overall for any organized player, any top-notch player, design capability and project management expertise is important. And in case of Interarch, these guys are pretty much the best in class. Manufacturing and operations, very, very important, because as I told earlier, it's not a design company, it's not a construction company, it's actually a manufacturing come construction come design company, a typical PEB company. So again, the advantage is that these guys are vertically integrated, which again, as I mentioned earlier, right from design to everything, these guys take care of. And that is why operating leverage is huge in this business. And whenever these guys do CapEx, which they are doing, and I'm going to talk about it, this is the comment that the management says. There is a built-in overhead that gets taken care of after a certain level of turnover. So these guys have 10% overage cost. And once a certain level of turnover comes in, this entire overhead cost just kicks into the margin completely. And that is why it's also one of the triggers for Interarch, because they are doing CapEx, okay? And once the CapEx stabilizes, the overhead cost that gets built in, it gets spread over multiple projects and eventually sort of, starts kicking into the margin as well. And then finally, ecosystem relationships. Very, very important to have long-term relationships with, suppliers. For example, the steel suppliers, Interarch, only takes from the top 5 steel suppliers from India. Paint suppliers, they only take from, Asian Paints and, one of the other two big ones. Whether it's machining, consumables, only, the best German, best Japanese, suppliers that they do it. Builders, they have 50 plus builders who are, these contractors that they take to sort of, put everything together once they manufacture. They have 50 plus, across India, different parts of the location. And one of the small comments, although it's not, it's not a big differentiator, but just the way, these guys take these relationships important is that, so the logistics guys are very, very important part of, any PEB, because you manufacture at one place, but you still have to transport it, right, to the construction site. So they mentioned that at our all construction sites, we have dedicated rooms and cabins, along with, bathrooms to take bath, etc., for our logistics suppliers, because they need to come in and, they need to wait for some time before, we load this entire huge steel sort of, manufacturing structures in it. But during that time, we have to take care of, those guys. And, that's why, those guys have been, not that's why, but that's one of the reasons why, these guys have long-term relationships with us, because we take care of them in not only giving projects, but, also on a human basis. Again, not sort of, business differentiator, but just the fact that you do this once you have been in the, business for so long, you know how to take care of people, what's important for, everyone, etc. as well. So along the 5 sort of right to win for a PEB supplier, this is how Interarch, sort of, stands up. Now, let's move ahead, right? So how does Interarch stack up compared to the P2P? So this CRISIL report by industry, it's a very good one, but it was done only until end of 2024. So they compared against Kirby, which is the biggest one, unlisted, Interarch, Pennar, and Everest. So Pennar and Everest, probably 50% of their business comes from PEB, Everest probably 30%. So not a pure play PEB. But this report had one good thing. They only took out the PEB components from their P&L statements and balance sheets. So as you can see, from FY22 to FY24, Interarch was the fastest growing with respect to revenue and profit as well. And when you see that the percentage of how much revenue grew versus profit grew, I mean, one, they were the fastest, but also all industry players had operating leverage. It's not only Interarch, okay? All of them had operating leverages advantages, but Interarch had the biggest, by far, the operating leverage benefit. Now, what does this say? Okay, this say only one fact, that their operating efficiency, the way they manage their entire operations from, the projects to manufacturing, the transport, the supplies and everything is probably better than, the rest of it. And this is only related to, the PEB one. And another example is that, the asset turnover ratios, right? So obviously, Kirby, because of, their huge systems, I mean, Kirby is probably, double the size of Interarch, their factories are double and, everything. So they have a huge sort of, asset turnover ratio and much more stabilized as well. But probably if you leave out Kirby, Interarch is, is in a league of its own. The asset turnover ratio, when it compared to Pennar, when you compare to Everest and other players as well, is, probably double or triple of it. And again, a very high asset turnover ratio, it indicates, top class manufacturing, top class project management, top class resource control, procurement, cost control, etc. as well. So strictly from a P2B perspective, these things sort of, give a idea that yeah, it's very well managed, very well operationally efficient system that's happening. No, I wanted to sort of, stop the P2P comparison here, but I got a, sort of gentle suggestion from Puneet that, people might be interested in listening a bit more around, the Pennar story as well. So I added sort of, one more slide on it and I'll go through it. But just to finish this P2P comparison, so this is what the Nuvama industrial report says. And, just concentrate on, the bottom box on the green side. Only Interarch and Kuwait-based Kirby building systems compete for large and complex projects. In the low value and simpler project segment, it faces competition from Everest and Pennar, etc. So again, I'll repeat it. Only Interarch and Kirby compete for large and complex projects. Now, literally, I don't need to explain this further. This just talks about how Interarch is seen in the industry, the type of reputation, the type of projects, etc. And larger the projects, more the operating leverage, more the margin. I mean, this just talks about why they are at the top of the value chain. So very quickly, P2P comparison, Interarch versus Pennar, right? I'll be honest here, guys. I mean, it was a bit difficult to do a very, very solid P2P comparison versus Pennar because they have other businesses as well. 50% is the PEB contribution, but the other 50, comes from different sort of engineering components that they manufacture. But I did, to the best of my capabilities, especially around PEB. So the number of PEB plants, and sorry, before I go ahead, the additional complexity in Pennar is that one of their, PEB plant is actually in US. Sorry, there's a typo here. There's 2 in India and 1 in US. So sorry for that typo. So Pennar PEB plants, they have 2 in India. Sorry, 2 in India and 1 in US. And Interarch, they have 6 by Q1 of FY26. Currently, they have 5. The other one is in the process, but I've just mentioned there. By Q1 of next fiscal, it will be 6. PEB capacity 126,000 only in India and 241 by Interarch. So almost, they give or take double the size. PEB order book, again, 840 crore for India and, 1350 for Interarch here. Contribution wise, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a like to like apple to apple comparison because PEB contributes roughly 50% to Pennar's revenue, while for Interarch, it's a pure play player. The PEB revenue, the PEB profit CAGR I mentioned in the previous slide, it's faster, greater than Pennar when it comes to, the PEB one. Asset turnover ratio, I wouldn't take it seriously because, Pennar has a different business as well. So it, the overall impact comes from, both of them. It's not only a PEB asset turnover, but I wouldn't be surprised if, if you take only the PEB asset turnover ratio, Interarch will still be better. And, again, from a PAT and ROC perspective as well, Interarch is, sort of definitely better with respect to, the PEB side of things when you come to Pennar. So that was, a bit of, very quick P2P comparison as well. Now, the triggers for Interarch, like the entire summary, I definitely, I'm excited about it, but, from an investment perspective, the, triggers around it. So there are 6 triggers, as you can see here. I'll quickly go one by one. Capacity expansion, definitely. So there are 2 new plants that are coming up, one in Andhra and one in Gujarat. So the Andhra phase 1, it's already operational in September 24, and Andhra phase 2 and Gujarat, again, a typo there is, I missed the A there. So Andhra phase 2 and Gujarat will come by Q1 FY26, and each plant will add, 550 crores of revenue. And on top of it, they also mentioned that for our 4 existing plants, we are doing some bottlenecking, which will increase their capacity by, 50 crore worth of revenue each. But very quickly, just to go through the capacity expansion piece, what you see here are, few important, good interesting points that I picked up while studying about the capacity expansion. So until 2009, they did a decent bit of, capacity expansion. And then they didn't do anything until 2024 because, the acceptance in the market was, still a bit missing. The growth wasn't there. It was, still RCC. The international clients were still not investing here, bringing their PEB experience from, the markets, etc. But off late, especially post-COVID, I mean, they observed that, hey, listen, our capacities are maxed out. Sorry, I missed saying a very important point about Interarch. Their capacities are fully maxed out. Pennar's capacity is fully maxed out. Kirby's capacity is fully maxed out. All the organized players where big, good projects are coming in, the capacities are maxed out and everyone is investing into new capex. Again, an industry trigger, which I forgot to mention earlier. But coming back to Interarch here, right? So after 15 years, they are going for a 70% increase in capacity. these guys are very, very conservative management. After 15 years, if they are going for a 70% increase in capacity, just imagine the amount of demand, the amount of orders these guys have today, and they are looking forward to. Okay. And another sort of comment from Nuvama's Scuttlebutt industry report is that the management plans to double capacity in the next 4 years. So more capacity will be added. I'm decently sure of it. Obviously, management has to confirm it officially, but I'm decently sure that they will be adding capacity very regularly because the industry players are doing it. The demand is there. So the comment from both Pennar and Interarch was that our capacity is booked out. We cannot take orders for more than 9 to 12 months because that is the execution timeline. And we are going slow on taking orders. We are only taking orders where the margins are super high and we can do something about it through some turnarounds. But otherwise, we have stopped taking orders, or we are requesting clients to hold on to their plans for a bit while we are adding capacity. So that was literally the comment from both of them, a mix of both of them. So you can imagine the amount of industry tailwinds that these guys have. So coming back to the triggers for Interarch, one was capacity expansion. Now the other one is a very strong order book. So currently, as of Q2, the existing order book was 1350 crore, but they also mentioned that they have a bid book of 4000 crores, and historically they have a 25% win rate. So after the Q3 con call, we will get to know what's their new order book, etc. But again, all the industry players are, most of them are saying the same thing. Orders is not the problem. Execution and the capacity is the problem. So, again, and the guidance from capacity expansion, strong order book, we are going to double the revenue in 3 to 4 years. And I believe, it will be 3 years rather than 4 years, depending on, my own projections as well from the CapEx that's coming in. Margin expansion, strong operating leverage at play. And the guidance from the management as well is to keep increasing margins because these guys get bigger orders. These guys are targeting bigger orders. The warehousing orders, the data center orders, the residential building orders all come with higher margins. And that's where, these guys will sort of go in as well, along with, the strong operating rate. New verticals, I've already spent a bit of time, so I'm not going to do it. But very quickly, warehousing, data centers, renewables, buildings, all of these guys are opening up big time, and PBs have close to 0% contribution there. So the only way there is up. Move towards organized players. Again, I've spent a bit of time there. But again, bigger orders, reputed clients, Interarch is considered tier 1. So these guys will be the first port of call. Everyone will benefit, but Interarch will be the first port of call. And finally, the inflection point in the industry, right? So I think yesterday, if I remember the name right, sorry, I'm very bad with names. Prabjot did the presentation on Protean, absolutely loved it. But one of the points which he mentioned was the sweet spot of, when you want to invest is that the economic cycle, the sector cycle, the business cycle, everything comes together. I see similarities for Interarch as well. Okay, the capex is booming, the product acceptance is there, and the business is in a very, very good sweet spot as well because of its experience, credibility, and brand. And that's where it's a bit exciting space for for us to consider Interarch as well. So these were the triggers for Interarch overall. So far industry and thesis, and just going very quickly to projections, and I mentioned at the start of my presentation, this is, according to me, should be the least important part of it because everyone can do it according to their own assumptions, depending on what management says, etc. It should be more around, is the industry sort of, attractive enough? Is the company in the industry attractive enough? That's why I spend most of the time there. But still, projections is something that, we investors do sort of, back of our mind. So I took a shot at it. So from FY24 to, FY27. So what I did was, I took very conservative assumptions based on their current order book and Andhra planned phase 1 capex that are coming in. So what would be, then approximate FY25 revenue, and from FY25 to FY26, the Andhra phase 2 will come in and Gujarat plant will ramp up from June or so. So I took roughly 30% or 30 to 40% capacity of Gujarat plant and full capacity of Andhra plant. And then from 26 to 27, then full utilization of both the plants plus the debottlenecking, which is more 5 to 10% capacity. So roughly give or take, I did some high level sort of assumptions and calculations, revenue growth. And from an EBITDA percentage, because of operating leverage, from FY25 to FY27, I took, conservative, let's increase, 0.5% EBITDA by every year for the operating leverage piece. So overall, the PAT, I'm expecting, or rather, it can be at 110 in FY25, growing up to 202 by FY27. But overall, their message from the management was very similar. Compared to FY24, we want to double the revenue, and we will double the revenue in 3 to 4 years, which is FY28 or FY27, which is pretty much, my projections are also giving from roughly 1300 in FY24 to roughly 2600 in FY27. It might be, a bit up and down here, but EBITDA growth wise percentage, the operating leverage have been a bit conservative. But if everything goes well, the margins might be more than 10.5%, hence the PAT will be. So what will it look like? So as of Friday, Jan 10, the current market cap was approximately 2600 with a PE of 30. So if we take some, sensitivity modeling around PE, so the market cap would look something like this if you give 25, 30, and 35, and the returns would look somewhere between in FY25 6% to 50%, depending on what PE we'll end up with. And you can have a look at the numbers. No need for me to explain, but there's more of Excel based stuff which everyone can do. That's why I'm saying it's a bit subjective. I wouldn't sort of stick my head out and say that this will happen, but these are all projections, around the financial possibilities that can happen. But one good thing, or rather, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but due to the recent market-wide correction, when I made the slide start of last week, the returns were a bit low because the PE was 35, and because of the market-wide correction, the PE came down to 30. So the returns, changed because the starting point changed. So that was good. And actually, I was joking with Puneet that I couldn't control myself. Actually, I bought a little bit more in this market-wide fall. But again, not a recommendation, not asking you guys to do it, just sharing some personal points. From a technical perspective, so far, until this week, until actually last few days, it was following the trend line very well. Again, market-wide correction happened. It broke that trend line. So it has very, very recent history of it, because I think it got listed in, if I remember right, September, was it? Yes, September. So barely any history of, in the stock market. So I don't have, a long chart where, I can see the long term trends, etc. But so far in, a couple of quarters sort of worth of charts, this is what I've observed. So according to the charts, the next support is around the 400 level. But otherwise, it was following is as of now. It depends on the external markets as well. I mean, in spite of, the businesses being good, a lot of good businesses suffered in the last 1 week or so, and the suffering might still go on for some time before the market stabilizes. So I wouldn't sort of, really take the technical aspect for Interarch so seriously, especially because, the lack of history in the chart. So that's a little bit take on the TA side of it. Obviously, we'll need to close with the risk as well. Definitely steel is the main raw material price in it, so any volatility will impact, although they have a built-in buffer behind it. Increasing competitive intensity. Again, at an industry level, yes, I can definitely imagine it, very easy to get in, but in an organized play where, your experience, capabilities matter a lot, it's a bit tougher. But overall, unorganized wise, yeah, it's definitely there. Transportation challenges, yes, transportation is very critical. And yeah, any sort of challenges sort of, would impact the design capability limitations. Yeah, if there's particular industry, particular requirements, particular specifications that might come up, and you don't do a good job around it, then, if your start is bad, then, the entire steps that follow, the manufacturing, the installation, etc., everything gets impacted. And lack of skilled manpower. I gave you an example of, I think it was IGI? No, it was not IGI. It was BHEL. Yes, it was the BHEL case study. The lack of skilled manpower sometimes can be a problem as well. So, guys, just the last slide, the summary and the key messages. I just want you to remember these 6 things out of Interarch once you sort of, leave this, right? There's 6 key things. Industry perspective, it's a nascent industry, inflection point, and, thanks to Prajot yesterday, I still remember his very good thing. Industry, economy, business, all cycles are coming together. Nascent industry at an inflection point. product, increasing acceptance of PEB versus RCC, and it's an industry agnostic business, especially Interarch is industry agnostic. From a player's perspective, very limited players, very few organized players. There are only 3 to 4 key ones. Among them, Interarch is fastest growing. They are the second biggest in capacity, and they are the most efficient. And they have solid triggers, long-term relationships, top-tier clients, capacity expansion, margin improvement, entry into new sectors, etc. And then finally, my personal take, don't take it seriously, make your own judgment, reasonable valuations, and potential to deliver solid returns in short to medium term. So forget about everything that I said earlier. If you remember these 6 points, I think I'll be happy at the end of this presentation. And that's pretty much it about it, guys. Thanks a lot for being so much patient with it. Thanks to Puneet for the opportunity. Happy to take questions. If I fail to answer any question, I'll definitely research a bit about it and come back to you guys. So yeah, Puneet, that's it from my side.
Yeah, excellent, excellent, Farshad.
Can I ask? Hi, Farshad. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, amazing presentation. So one thing I wanted to ask was, since Kirby is a big player and it probably has better margins and better revenue, so what is the likelihood of Kirby listing in India? And then later on, what do you think will be the impact of Kirby's listing?
Okay. Okay, good question. See, probability of Kirby listing in India, it's hard for me to comment on that. But again, if you want me to, have a take on it, probably a little lesser because one, it's a Kuwait-based company, as I mentioned earlier, and it's a multinational company, okay, and it has much bigger operations in other parts of the globe compared to India. So if it were to list, my guess is that, it would sort of, prefer to list in, other countries where its operations are bigger. And number two, what would be the impact on Interarch? See, Kirby is an already established company. So Interarch and Kirby are already fighting on ground for the top tier 1 projects. Okay. So I don't think there will be any change just because Kirby sort of, gets listed. In fact, if you were to ask me, it might actually turn out good from an investment perspective because the visibility of PEB space, the acceptance of PEB space from an investment perspective might actually grow. But both are tier 1, both are actually, fighting for, the best and biggest projects in India. So just because Kirby gets listed, don't think it will have an impact, but it might actually be a flip in the arm by giving more visibility for, this entire space. So that would be my take.
Thank you. And just if you can answer one more question, do you have any views on how cyclical this business is?
Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, every business has some sort of, cyclicality built into it. Definitely, when the construction space itself is growing, that's the sweet spot, which is where we are in right now. Yeah, if the overall construction, as a industry goes down, it definitely will have impact. But one of the good points about Interarch compared to its competition, as I mentioned, in the clientele slide, is that these guys are industry agnostic. Okay. These guys work across the sectors. So even if some sectors, take a bit of beating down and the construction or capex in that space goes down, Interarch, because it has, those long-term relationship across other industries, I mean, these guys are smart enough to sort of, go there and concentrate a little bit more. That is number one, industry agnostic. And number two, these guys are also, that's why moving into, these new spaces. Like, these guys have seen warehousing is growing, data centers is growing, renewables are going, residential building wise, main wahan bilkul nahi hu. So I think these guys are smart. These guys are looking ahead and looking at, killing that cyclicality, looking a bit ahead कि पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है, कैपेक्स कहाँ हो रहा है, कंस्ट्रक्शन कहाँ होने वाला है, और अभी मैं वीक हूँ यहाँ पे. So, let me sort of, invest in, getting more clients, build more reputation there. But just please listen, at the end of the day, every industry is cyclical. So I won't be here and saying that, yeah, it will just keep on growing. Yes, economy, the overall construction will definitely have an impact. But let me put it this way, Interarch will have probably lesser impact compared to its other players because it has that breadth and depth of, industry, more industries that they're serving on. So that's a bit of my take there.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so much.
one last question before we move to the other presentation. Other questions, I would be happy if you can look at the chat and answer after the next presentation starts.
Okay.
So the question is, how long-lasting are these structures, basically, as compared to RCC? So RCC might last for 50 years, 100 years.
Yes.
These structures, any research on how long-lasting they could be, 10 years, 20 years, like that?
Okay, I'll just take few seconds to answer that, Puneet, because I probably took more time. So honestly, I don't have a quantitative answer on how long these structures last, but the different industry reports say that PEB structures are sturdier. They are much lesser prone to things like earthquakes or any sort of natural disasters because of the strength of the steel as a raw material itself. And if the design, the manufacturing is done as per, the industry standards, typically everyone mentioned that, the PEB ones are more sturdier than that. How much sturdier, how much in terms of the life of the building, I don't have a data point right now.
Sure, no problem.
Puneet,
So other questions?
Puneet, can I just add
Yeah.
something here? So
Sure.
if anybody, if the Hong Kong Bank of China building is about 80, 90 stories, that entire thing is basically built on screws. So I think that's basically a PEB model itself. And that's been there now almost 30 years.
Great.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good data point.
I remember when I first saw it, all they said is you could unscrew it and build it anywhere else in the world, same way. So that's about 30 years into existence. Now it's a 90-story building.
Good.
Great data point.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Yeah.
So Farshad, please look at the chat and maybe answer there
Sure.
if possible. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
So we'll move to the next one. Salesh, thanks a lot once again to you, Farshad, for excellent presentation.
Yeah, hi, good
So
morning,
Salesh,
everyone. Yeah, Puneet bhai, can I share screen?
Yep. Yeah, we are able to see. You can
Yes. Yeah, so good morning, everyone. This is Shailesh Sharma, and I am a retail investor, as I like most of the people. And I would consider myself as a passive investor. But like for these ALD sessions, I try to, excitingly push myself to pick up some stock, to do some analysis and, present something to keep myself in touch and up to date with what's going on. So the company today that I'm presenting is Josts Engineering. It's a legacy company, like established in 1907. It has its headquarters in Mumbai, and it is into material handling equipments, and it's a supplier of broad range of engineering product solutions with its application in many different industries, which we'll be seeing, next. Yeah. So the overview is the mission is to provide a world-class industrial products and material handling solutions to their customers, which will, enable them to achieve high quality productivity and experience, in whatever the manufacturing unit or warehousing, wherever, they are there. And they have a fully equipped ISO 9001 2008 certified plant at Thane, Maharashtra. And they have their indigenous, Josts brands such as Jumbo, PYGMY, and Jotruk, and others also, which if you are into these sectors and all, you'll see at various warehouses and all, you'll find these brands logos at the, toy trucks and other places. And their products find application across diverse industries, ranging from logistics and warehousing to power to oil and gas, defense, aerospace, information technology, automobile engineering. So in all the manufacturing units, you can find some or the other of their application or tools required that is there. The company has 8 service centers and 24 dealers across India. So they have a pan-India presence, as you can see in the left side map. And they are so they also tie up with international companies to offer engineering products to whatever requirement is there in R&D or automobile or defense at other places. So they have tied up with 40 plus international companies, and their prestigious clientele includes DRDO, Tata Power, all the government entities which are into defense, R&D, aerospace, ONGC, Maruti, BHEL, manufacturing, NTPCs. So everywhere, they have supplied some or other of their products. And it was also recently, it was also part of Chandrayaan-3 project, and they supplied mill grade connectors there. So this is a brief overview about Josts Engineering. And now I'd like to give you a brief milestone, how, where they began and where currently they are. Oh, so before that, I'll just give you a key management. What are the management team? So first is Mr. JP Agarwal. He's the chairman of the company. He has more than 42 years experience in manufacturing sector. And the managing director and vice chairman of the company is Mr. Vishal Jain. And he has done his, BE and MBA and has 21 years experience in supply chain management, financial advisory, and wealth management. And next, they have their another, subsidiary, which is based out of India, MHE Rental, where they, provide material handling equipment on rental basis, so whenever required to the customers. So he has over 25 years of experience in the industry. He set up multiple successful organizations for various MNCs. And the CEO of Engineering Product Division is, Mr. L. Sharad Kumar, and he's a BE Mechanical, has 18 plus years of expertise. And he has been, in fact, he has been, since 18 plus years, he has been in this Josts Engineering only at various roles. So he has all the knowledge of various engineering products, which require very niche and thorough technical expertise. So just to say that they have good experience amongst them. And recently, last month, I also was reading on a Twitter that they have some political connections in Maharashtra somewhere, which which is also a plus point. So people saying that when BJP will get re-elected, if so, they will be one of the beneficiaries of it. So even amongst the audiences, if you know who is the political connection, who is there, because I was not able to find. I searched many places, but I was not able to find who has the political connection in the management team. But it was there. It was a rumor. But if someone else knows that, is it true? So you can just help us with, help the others with those. So I'll just give you the business verticals. So there are 4 business verticals. First is the material handling division, which is committed to providing innovative materials for its customers for internal material handling. And it has 6 decades, in fact, recently, with fully equipped ISO certified plant in Thane, and offers comprehensive solutions right from storing to stacking and to retrieving back the material and to transporting it to in the field of intralogistics. And the next division is engineering product divisions. So here basically they tie up with world's leading manufacturers, and which have different high technology applications in vibration, environmental simulation, components, electrical testing, nanotechnology. We'll read more about it in the upcoming slides. But this is the division where the application is majorly in R&D, aerospace, defense, automotive industries. The third division is MHE Rentals, like my material handling division, rentals. So here what they do is whoever customer they need for short duration of time, or they cannot afford because some of the equipments are high cost, and they need it only maybe couple of times a month or couple of times a year. So they have established incorporated another subsidiary called as MHE Rentals, where they take up these activities. And the fourth is technical services. So they have world-class technology solutions where they do NABL accredited lab testing is there, technical training, installation they provide, erection, commissioning, annual maintenance AMCs they take up, and maintenance services, etc., to support their customers. So whatever is related to material handling and engineering products, so they do everything, right from rentals to calibration to testing to training. So all of these they provide a comprehensive solution for these things. The milestones, yeah. So how they started, just to give a brief scenario how it started. So it was established in year 1907 by Mr. Carl Josts, where it started as a fan supplying engineering company for manufacturing kerosene operated fans in those time. And in 1913, after 6 years, they represented Evershed and Vignolles, which is right now known as Megger Limited, and Standard Telephone Cable Limited. So after 6 years of it in its operation, they started representing international companies in India for whatever applications are required or local customer demands that is there. And after that, in between they have represented many other companies. But the significant milestone after that was in 1963, they emerged as an important manufacturer and supplier of material handling equipment and technology-based engineering solutions. So that division, material handling division, which is now currently, major portion of the revenue, that was started in 1963. And after that, they tied up with the licensing agreement with a German company, Reich, something is called, as I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. But yeah, so it was for manufacture of stackers and battery-operated pallet trucks in the year 1980. And after that, in 98, it became the first Indian MHE company to get an ISO 9001 certification. In year 2007, then they established and organized their entire business into 3 core business areas, which is material handling, industrial finishing division, which was there earlier on, but now currently it is not there, and the engineering products division, which is the second main important division which they have currently. Then in 2009, they ventured into nanotechnology and analytical instrumentation business, which is a part of engineering products division. And then 2016, they introduced diesel forklift range of MHE rental. And then in 2017, they represented Doosan Korea, which is a big company in material handling range. And in 2022, introduction of rack-clad warehouse. So, every few years, they introduce a new product or new range in their existing segments, and they continue to thrive. So the first business, as we were reading earlier, it is material handling equipment. So the company has 6 decades of experience, as it was established in 1963. So it has 6 decades of experience, a fully equipped ISO 9001 2008 certified plant at Thane, and it has an pan-India presence and service network, which enables Josts to respond to its customers' need with highest quality solutions. And it has customized all-round solutions, right from stacking to moving to and warehousing are provided by offering extensive range of material handling goods. This covers the design and execution also. So as per the warehouse requirement, how much is the height, how much is the load capacity. So based on that, it is they can provide various solutions and customize as per the product customer's need. And they have more than 1,500 types of products. So it is difficult, to say about describe about everything, but I'll just give you a brief. Whatever are the main products, I'll just show some images and try to explain what is there and what their work is. And it is in MHE, they represent only one company, which is Skyjack Canada for MHE products, along with its own brands, as we're discussing, such as Jumbo, etc. And these are the list of the material handling division. What are the products that they offer? So there is this platform truck, tow trucks, and in this also, there are multiple variants which comes in, diesel operated, AC and DC variants in battery operated, load from 1 ton to 3.5 ton, for 5 ton, 8 ton. So a different load also, the products are, different types of products are there. So as you can see on the right side, the first is, this is the scissor lift, it is called as. So for lift, picking up or stacking the material at higher levels, so this is used. And after that, this is aerial work platform, the second green image that you can see, where if you want to operate at a 3 meter, 4 meter, 5 meter height, you can use this leveler, scissor lift, sorry. And then this is forklift, and these are the racking solutions that they offer, that you're seeing in the right corner picture. I'll just show you some more images of this material handling equipments. Yeah, so just if you can see the highlighters of these 3 are the towing trucks. So whatever weight, if you want to carry, if you have some wheels and all are there on this. So there is jumbo tow truck, this is Taurus truck. So this might be, this is a battery operated, diesel operated. So they have these different versions. And these are the stackers. So for barrel stacking or pellet stacking, if you want, stacking one product on top of each other, so for utilizing the airspace that is there. So these stackers can be used. And in the left corner below, you can see the racking solutions. So this is also another, fantastic, where each warehouse or logistics team or even any manufacturing unit, they will require, because, land has become so premium at all the places. So people, we need to, stack the products and utilize all the airspace that you can get. So all the racking solutions, right from a heavy duty, medium duty, light duty, and mezzanine floors. If you want a office, if you might see in the production plants and all that, there's an office on the first floor. So these kind of mezzanine structures, which is made up of completely, MS steel, you'll find this. And multi-tier stacking systems, as you can see. So these are all the racking solutions in the left corner. And in here you can see the scissor lifts. So if you want to stack any weight or material on at higher levels in these racking solutions lift, so you can use these scissor lifts, which all they provide. And the right, you'll see this aerial work platform. If you want to, as I told you, if you want to work at a higher floors, you can use this product, electrical forklift. And yeah, this is a dock leveler. So what this does is you can vary the height, and if you want to lift the material and directly install place it in the vehicle. So in between the platform you need this kind of leveler. So it has all kinds of products for various applications for handling the materials, as you can see here. Whatever you can imagine of, think of, they have it. If you want to like move materials from, and the price range starts from like 14,000-15,000 and it goes up to 40 lakhs, 60 lakhs also for high variant products. So this so this is for the material handling equipment. Now the second division will go up is the engineering products division. So EPD, in association with some of the leading manufacturers of the world. So as we discussed earlier, that they represent 40 plus international companies. So they have tied up with these leading manufacturers of the world, and they provide advanced engineering solutions for some very demanding industrial applications. And so these applications, as you can see here, it's environmental simulation. So environmental simulation, what this means is like simulation of temperature, humidity, corrosion, to give thermal shocks, altitude chambers, electrodynamic shakers are there, shock testing is there. And these are done for these has application in automotive industry, aerospace industries, in defense. So to create different types of tough environments, so where they can test their products, test their electrical circuits and all these things, test the property of the material, how much it can withstand the humidity, the temperature. There, this environmental simulation, it comes into picture and has an application. And it also has one more in environmental simulation is lab ovens. It is used for design and destructive testing of the components of the hybrid circuits, as we discussed. And then the components. The components, what comes is the connectors, the switches, the space grid connectors, which was one of the products that they supplied in Chandrayaan-3. So this came from this vertical, the component vertical of this engineering products division. And they also have the electrical tests and equipments, for electrical testing and measurement range. It has for performance testing in generation, transmission, distribution equipments. So all the equipments, they require testing, and also, and they have tied up with all the international companies for supplying these to the local customers. Another is nanotechnology and analytical solutions. So this field, it finds this application in the R&D community across the industries. Across industries, what I mean by across industries is, premium engineering institutes. You might see in engineering institutes, there are labs, there are chemistry labs, there are physics labs, electrical labs. There you will find all these products requirement, and CSIR activities are taken there. They fund these research projects, etc. So this nanotechnology and analytical solution finds its application here. After that, the heat and combustion. So heat and combustion has become, nowadays important for cost effectiveness, for bringing efficiency in the combustion process. So there, all these gas and flame detectors, the anemometer, which stands for it's an airflow meter. So all these things come into picture here. And then there's sound and vibration. Sound and vibration, it has different types of meters and reading instruments for room acoustics, transducer conditioning, and it is used in automotive industries for research and how much noise is coming from its components, etc. And whether there is any problem in the aerospace, in rockets, spaceships, wherever, if you find some vibration is there, you might detect if there is any problem in engineering, product quality check, etc., R&D. So all these products find its application there. And these are some of the list of the companies that are represented, international companies. It has the list is very huge, 40 plus, as I told you. But just to give you a brief idea, these are some of the companies that are represented by Josts Engineering. And the third is, as I told you, they have incorporated a subsidiary in India called as MHE Rentals, where they offer, equipment, crews, and maintenance. So any amongst these three, they offer all these three also. If someone wants just the crew, just the people, or just the maintenance, annual maintenance contracts, or only the equipment, they provide all of these things. to their customers, and they have an experienced team in this, which with over 25 years of experience in the rental business itself, because rental is a different ball game altogether, because you have to invest all your capital upfront, and then just to rotate the money, so that becomes tricky. And the management has provided a commentary on it in the last year's annual report, that rental business, they continue to run cautiously and are only doing selective capex, and where the payback period is short. So this self-introduced constraint is restricting their growth in the business, but their deal quality has become very good. So in the 2023 to 24, their total revenue had gone down by, I think, 2-3%, but their profit after tax, the PAT, had increased by 50%. So that's how they are conservative in their business, but they are also very cost conscious and business acumen. They have a good business acumen, and they are doing as per they are handling this MHE rental business very cautiously. And the fourth is the technical and calibration services. So they have 2 NABL accredited labs, one in Kolkata, one in Mumbai, and there is a third one also coming up that they have said, which will come up in Thane itself. And they provide all these technical services, annual maintenance contracts, and the training and everything is provided under these services. So now we'll move towards the financial parameters of this company. It is a micro cap. The micro cap is 550 crores. Current price is 558, and the return on equity is 20.6%. The ROCE is 25%, and the promoters have zero pledging. They are holding at 47.2%. P ratio is 36, which is compared to its competitors at a decent valuation. The price to book is 8.3. Which is slightly high. Industry P, as you say, is 41.6. So they are still there's some room for price increase there. And we'll move towards the key financial parameters, the quarterly results of this company. So the company has had a fantastic last few quarters. As you'll see, in the past maybe 2 years, you can see the sales every quarter has been increasing. So in September 2022, it was 37 CR, and then 41, then 54, 38. And the last 3 quarters, if we'll see, September, 46 CR, 61 CR, and in June it was 56. But in this September quarter, it has again increased to 62 CR. And the expenses is also in the range. It's not like the expenses are increasing consistently. And the net profit, if you will see, it has shot up by 1 to 2 CR. It was there initially, but now it has come up to 5 CR. And the earning per share has also increased from 1 to 5 CR. As I say, sorry, 5 rupees earning per share. And just to give a segment revenue, like how much each segment contributes to it. So this is from their annual report. If you see if you'll see here, they have divided their business into 5 different verticals. As per them, like what they see is material handling is one, engineering products is one, MHE rentals is third. Fourth is this JECL Engineering Limited, which is a new company, new plant, which they have defined it as a another subsidiary, where they will be manufacturing these equipments, and it has commenced its trial run, but still the production has not yet started there. And it has capacity of up to making 200 equipments per month. So this is JCL Engineering Limited, not yet started its operations there, just trial runs are going on. And another is one subsidiary they have incorporated in USA, Josts Engineering Inc., where they're doing some trading. So this till now it is not significant whatever they are providing, but in futures years it is expected to pick up further. So this is we'll see the business is increasing. So these are the 5 domains. A major chunk of business revenue breakup, if you'll see, the sale of products is 83%. Major revenue is coming from the sale of products. The sale of services like AMC, that is the second division, and the others, AMC and etc. is 14%, and other revenue is 3%. And segment-wise, if you try to break up, the material handling accounts for 56%, the engineering product accounts for 37%, and MHE rentals is 7% of the revenue. But in the last half-yearly results, if you will see, it has been seen that the engineering product and the material handling is 50-50 there. So engineering products have picked up quite well in the last couple of quarters, and the half-yearly result shows that both MHE and engineering products are providing same contribution to the revenue. The shareholding pattern now, we'll see the promoters has been consistent. Just last year, this year, I think March 2024. Last year, there was some selling by the promoters, a couple of percentage that was taken up by the public. And the number of shareholders had quite increased. It has more than doubled in the last 2 years. The ratios, if you'll see the debtor days, it is more or less remain constant only. The inventory days have come down by like almost one third it has become, and days payable also it has slightly decreasing. The cash conversion cycle is also improved. It has become half. The working capital days is also increasing. ROC is also increasing. So overall, all the ratios sound promising and shows that the future is positive for this company. Just few technical parameters. I'll see the monthly chart. So if you'll see, there was the company was in this channel for a long time, and once it broke out in 2023, it has almost become 5 times. And so this is the monthly chart, just to give a brief overview of how it is looking from beginning. So it has become 5x in the last 1.5 years or something. And the weekly chart, it shows that it was following a trend line since past 2 years, you can say. Past 2 years it was following a trend line, but recently, as you'll see, the RSI was also high, so it is slightly consolidating now. And there was high HNI. I think Raheja family, they sold some good amount of shares on 10th or 14th of December, 10th and 14th of December. So that's why you'll see these huge volumes here in the December month. So this is there. So just like for taking entry wise, you can see that there's a resistance lines that is there. So maybe the stock can consolidate, the RSI can come down, it can cool off. And after that, once it breaks out, or if you get a good price, you can we can think of investing in this company at to get a better price. So right now it seems to be consolidating and cooling off period. Just a short SWOT analysis on the company. So the strengths of the company, as we saw, that it is an established brand with a long legacy, having over 117 years of experience, well-known, trusted brand, and to get yourself, in the tendering with all the government organizations and the private players, of course. So it takes years to build those trust, and technical expertise also. It takes time, because all these engineering products division, it takes time to learn all these things, to provide the trainings, to tie up and get the training initially from the international companies who are the original equipment manufacturers. So they have this legacy, they have this expertise, and they are in these fields for long. So which is one of the core strengths of this company. They have a diverse product portfolio. So as you'll see, every company needs some kind of material handling, and they have all the products for it, like right from a small forklift to a big scissor lift, or aerial platform, etc. So they have all the equipments, all the engineering services, testing, calibration. Calibration is very important in quality testing, quality checking, and all those things. So they provide those solutions also. So all the manufacturing companies, all the warehousing, logistics, they at some or the other time will need to have requirement of these products, and Josts is well established to capture that due to its pan-India presence and international collaborations. The last year it had a strong financial performance also. Comparing as per the annual performance was also very good, and the company has the PAT also increased by almost 40% in the last financial year, and this year it is supposed to increase more than 60% as per the past few quarters, last couple of quarters results. And it provides innovative solutions and new facilities. So they have various solutions for all types of customers, whether it is engineering products, whether it is R&D, all the fields, aerospace, defense, everything, they have different products for. And also the company has introduced new products for electric vehicles. As we are discussing, some kind of engineering products is required for sound testing and these ovens and chambers, temperature control chambers and all, everything, they have products for. the new and upcoming field in EV, the solar power, and other emerging sectors also. And strategic partnership, they have 40 plus international companies such as Rentemol, Germany, USA, and other companies also they have partnership with, so that all the demands that can be catered to, and they are well in position to provide those solutions. Some weaknesses that I was think of is the segment dependent is more segment in the sense like this manufacturing or this warehousing. So so currently our country, it has becoming a manufacturing hub and all, but once, as our earlier presenters were also discussing, that everything is cyclical. So once this manufacturing segment this slightly cools off after this capex period, so the revenue can come down, and there can be slight sluggishness in the revenues at a much later stage, of course. And the rising costs. So Josts faces challenges in managing higher rising costs for some of their long-term projects, where they have taken up a PO, and if they are importing some material which gets delayed due to supply chain constraint or other things, their margin can be hampered, which happened in, I think, 2022. Some operational revenue, it went down from 16% to 14%, it was seen. And their global presence is limited. That is one of the problem I saw in the last financial year, last to last, like 2022-23, they had slightly started in UAE and Nepal, but nothing much happened after that. And this last financial year, there was zero revenue from exports and all. But let's see this USA subsidiary, if it picks up and they are able to attain some revenue growth from that global market also. And see, and also this is a capital intensive, you require these equipments manufacturing. So the rental business, it requires significant capital investment, and the company they are very cautious about increasing its exposure to longer payback periods. So this self-imposed constraint, it can limit the growth in the rental segment also. Now the opportunities that we are seeing in this company is huge. So as we discussed a couple of slides earlier, that the growing demand for EV and solar power, these are the new verticals that are picking up, and our these Josts engineering products has application there also. Particularly this noise vibration harness testing for EVs and transformer testing solutions also they have. So all of these will increase its revenue and market share. Government initiative and infrastructure development. The increased government spending on infra manufacturing, it can drive the demand for Josts, material handling and engineering products. And third, I think 10th of December, there was a news that they have done a JV with KC Energy, which is another listed company in the market, and which is formed to execute like 50% JV it is to execute EPC projects in the power sector and to do business in the renewable energy sector, which is just done a JV, and there's not much they'll see as it progresses, but it has tied up with this company for EPC projects in power and renewable energy sector. And the growth in the e-commerce sector, this has been one of the huge boom for Josts engineering, because due to that, you require 1 day delivery, 10 minutes delivery. So dark stores are coming up. You need to have these warehousing solutions, all these material handling equipments, tie racking solutions. Everything is needed in the city. Each town you'll have 4 or 5 dark stores, 10 dark stores, 100 dark stores across all the tier 1, tier 2 cities. So all of this, e-commerce sector has given a boom and rise to these MHE and MHE products, should say. And they have diverse offerings, maintains a strong position across infra, defense, automotive. So all, all the verticals, all the manufacturing companies, all the fields is covered in it. So the company is expected to deliver an improved performance in the upcoming year and every year. Because the railway sectors, aerospace, energy, the government is spending massively on it for the capex, and our company is well positioned to take the benefit out of it. And the material handling equipment division, this is expected to increase at a CAGR of 7.1% in India, this I'm speaking about, and reach USD 8.8 billion by 2030. Currently, it is at 5.5 billion. So a 7.1% CAGR across 5 years will make it 8.8 billion, and it will be give a significant profits to the promoters and the company and to the shareholders. The threats. So the threats that are there is the intense competition. These material handling and engineering solutions, they are highly competitive. Some international companies might, after seeing the opportunities in India, might try to set up their own branch in India or own subsidiary in India, and this can increase the competition, and it can put the pressure on the pricing and the market share. And the economy and regulatory risk, economic slowdowns as changes in the government policies, it could negatively impact capital expenditure in sectors that Josts serving, reducing the demand for its products. And technological disruption, this can happen, with the advent of AI, rapid, automation, robotics, smart logistics. These can, render some of the Josts existing products outdated if the company fails to keep up pace with the innovation. So this threat will be looming with the rise of robotics and everything, but Josh should be cautious about it, and but I think due to their tie-ups with international companies, which will they will carry forward in the future, it will be, this threat might be converted into an opportunity. And supply chain disruptions. So the dependence on international partners and suppliers, it makes the company vulnerable, because sometimes global supply chain issues happen, sometimes the delays there in the shipment and all, which could impact the overall its operations and product deliverables. So these are some of the threats that Jost Engineering is facing. So just the conclusion. I feel that it is a well-established player with a strong presence in material handling and engineering solutions. The company's strength lies in its legacy, the financial performance, as you're seeing, that due to the cost optimization, they were able to increase the MHE rentals revenue by 50%. Not revenue, sorry. They were able to increase the profit after tax by 50%, even if when the revenue slightly went down. So, and innovative product offerings. However, it must be able to address the rising cost and expand its global presence and mitigate threats posed by the competitors, regulatory, etc., to sustain a long-term growth. Thank you so much. I'm open to questions. This is from my side. This is all from my side. Thank you.
Great, Suresh. So, one question that is coming for robotics, basically, as the robotic part keeps on growing, how Jost is going to handle this?
Yes. Yeah, so as we said, the robotics, that is, of course, a valid threat for Jost Engineering. But as we've seen, like, they have a legacy of, tying up with the international companies and representing them in India. So they could, turn this threat into a positive boon also. And, they might be some of the first to, offer these solutions to all the various sectors.
Okay. Another question is on the stake sold by Raheja family. So I think it's more or less over, but
Yes.
why they were selling? Internal settlement or something? Why they have been selling on?
The reason why they have been selling, I was not able to see, but they were selling like on 10th and 14th of December. I was able to find out that this Raheja family, I think, brothers, two people, they have sold their stakes. But the reason I was not able to find out why they were selling.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyone has the news, like anyone has any information whether they have any political connections in Maharashtra with BJP or something?
Yeah, so I think some of these family members have been selling from quite some time, and one of the section, I think most of the overhang has been done already, finished basically. Now there is no overhang. In political connection wise, I just saw something on the social media when the Maharashtra election happened at that time that Jost might be getting that benefit.
Yes, yes. I was also reading on social media only, but I was not able to find any management. I tried to, search the names and all, but I was not able to find someone, like, find these people in connection with any, political party or any leader.
Salish,
Yes.
good afternoon. Yogesh this side. Just one query. From their product perspective, do you know how much it takes from the order to delivery realization?
Yeah, I was not able to find that information, but it might, depend on the product to product. If it is a smaller, simpler product, it might take me, 2 weeks to 1 month's time. And if it is a big product, it looks like, as it was there showing in the, I think, one of the weaknesses, yeah, rising costs. So it was there in their annual report that some projects, it takes longer duration. but it was like nowhere it was seen that how much is the product duration or project duration. But seeing by the rising cost that the management commentary said that sometimes the project takes longer duration. So maybe I'm guessing couple of quarters max. I'm guessing.
See, actually, bit on two sides here. One is the working capital cycle for this,
Yes.
and secondly, say for example, if demand comes in, how fast they are able to cater the demand. Okay, and and we have looming threat from AI, robotics.
Yes.
So if this is not available, there is definitely going to shift towards other AI demand robo related players there. So
Yes.
this is one threat. The time to market of this product there.
Correct. Yeah, Yogesh, I absolutely agree with your point that AI is a threat. The robotics with the advent of robotics and everything. If their turn on cycle, if the product cycle is high, it will definitely people will try to
Right.
find alternate solutions which are quicker.
And we have good visibility of next say 4-5 years.
Yes.
But beyond this, if your product cycle is taking longer time, then it will be very difficult to place orders and see. So it could be interesting to have in this mind before. Of course, no doubt, company is good players, and also Puneet suggested overhang is get kind of close. They have survived. There was a huge consolidation base is there, monthly
Yes.
base. But we need to see if demand comes up, how the product delivery is being done, because ultimately it will be the revenue which will help them to grow, the
Yes.
sales which will help them to grow.
Yes.
But
So
overall, nice inputs. Really appreciate this. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Just to add one point, like it was showing that they have, have a new manufacturing facility in Murbad where the capacity is to make 200 equipments per month. So this might give you a small brief overview of how much, the time takes. But again, I think it depends on the equipment that you're manufacturing. And for bigger equipments and all, it might take some time. Or if you are importing something which is exclusive and all from other countries, that might also take some time, maybe because 1 month transit definitely takes by ship if you're doing
Right.
that is also another
It
point.
will be cherry in a cake if they go into this robotics part of play now.
Yes.
Then it will be a one-stop solution. And plus, from I can see they have very good results. In fact, last quarter was very good, and post this they have done split as well.
Yes, they have done. Yeah, last I think in November month they have done a split also.
Yes, they have done the split.
Yeah. So fantastic.
Okay. So, yeah. So, Salish, there are one or two more questions in the chat. You can reply in the chat for that. So we will continue with the presentations here. So
All
you
right.
can
Thank
stop
you, everyone.
sharing.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. So we'll go to the audience quiz fast. I hope you are able to see my screen and PPT now coming up basically for audience quiz. Is it visible?
Yes, Puneet, visible.
Yeah. So just like yesterday, you have to choose option A, B, C, D, and in the chat you have to just put the option, not the full answer. Just put A, B, or C, or D, whatever seems comfortable. Questions are a little bit harder than yesterday, but take your time. Okay. So the first question is coming from Interarch. Their new plants are coming up in which states? Okay, we have enough answers. So I think a lot of people have given the answers. We'll stop for question one and put for the next question. So don't answer for this question now. Let's move to the next question, which is coming from Josts Engineering. So which is not a Josts Engineering brand. Yeah, I think a lot of people have again answered it. We'll stop it here. I will analyze the answers in the meantime, and I will hand over the presentation to Sanjay ji. He is the next presenter for us. So Sanjay ji, you can take the control.
Yeah, thanks, Punitji. I'll just share the screen. You'll have to just bear with me. I'm not as tech savvy as a lot of y'all guys. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the company I'm presenting is OBSC Perfection. It was listed on 29th of October. IPO price 9,500 rupee band. Lot size is 1,200. Right now the price is 249, and market cap is 610. This is just a standard disclaimer that I'm not SEBI registered, and this presentation was sole purpose of education, not a recommendation to buy, sell. Please do your own due diligence and seek advice from your financial consultant before any investment decision. See, there's not
you can
much.
put in the presentation mode. Would that be better for you?
I'm sorry?
Can you put in the presentation mode? Would it be better for you?
Just one second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what do you want me to do? Tell me that.
So just put in Alt F5 on your tab or screen, wherever you're doing. It will come in a full presentation mode instead of going slide by slide.
Yeah,
on the same presentation, just in the right corner below, where you can increase the font. So there you can only click. Yeah, no, not there. Just left side.
Come left.
Yeah, this one.
No.
The last one. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, this one, right.
Okay. So
the fourth one. You clicked on second, right?
Okay. All right. Sorry. So so again, I'll just give you a. See, there's not much that I can really say about the company because everything's already said in the last couple of days on all social media platforms. Last night they had Twitter Spaces attended by about 4,000 odd people. I'll give you. I mean, this presentation's there, which says everything about what the company is all about. I'll give you a brief of the company. The company is actually a precision equipment manufacturing company based out of Chakan and also has a factory in Chennai. So they have 3 units in Chakan. They are planning to extend one of the third unit and about another 36,000 square feet and get it into, extended, and so probably become 3 units with, 4 divisions in Chakan itself. The OBSC Perception family basically consists of 2 families. One is the OBSC family, which is the Omega Steel family based out of Delhi, and the Perception family. Now, the Omega Steel family belongs to a gentleman called Uday Narang, and the Perfection family part is represented by the Likha family. Now, they are equal shareholders in this company, in OBSC Perfection. And a part of a larger group which is Omega. Now, Omega under its umbrella owns about another 6-7 companies, none of which are listed as yet. All right. Omega is a big steel manufacturer, and so together they came together to synergize what their capabilities were. So Likha family was already into auto parts in Delhi, but not in a very big way. They were doing about a 50 crore turnover. And that's when Mr. Saksham Likha's dad and the OBSC family decided to do something bigger, which they did in about 2017, is when they put up this plant in Pune. The company is basically into automotive parts, supplies to the top, over a period of time, they've been able to now supply to the top guys in the world. They are with ZF, they're supplying to Bosch, they're supplying to Forvia. They are basically doing the precision, manufacturing part in the auto component thing. What they are doing is the parts require up to 5,000th of an tolerance that's the kind of precision parts that they're doing, right? So the kind of buyers that they have is in process even in auto to get approvals. It takes them about from when they're given a design, then they get a 3D model kind of thing made, have it approved. So they're basically a build to print to build kind of company. They will make the 3D model, get it approved, and it takes about an 18-month process to finally convert into revenue. Their basic product was the suspension rod, based on which is where they got 10-Eco as their first big customer. So 10-Eco has Omega approved, the Omega Steel Group approved as a supplier of their to their other vendors, and that's when 10-Eco asked the Omega family that, why don't you all only make the finished product also and give us, which finally led to the OBSC Perfection part coming up. Due to 10-Eco buying from them, when ZF was in need for steering, for again the suspension rods, that is when, because OBSC has now become a known name in the Chakan area for suspension rods, is when ZF also came to them and ZF started working with them. This is a list of the customers that they are working. So they are working with all the top end customers. As you can see, they are working with Tata Autocom, they're working with 10-Eco, they're working with ZF, they're working with Sharda Motors, they're working with JT, out of their Chennai plant, they're working with JTKT. They are working with Suprajit, but they have reduced their work with Suprajit because I think the cycle's longer and they weren't really happy with that. They also have now got, they've also now signed NDAs with some leading European other car guys. They weren't able to disclose that in the meeting that we had. They've signed one with Marelli also. What they have done wisely is they have so they have about a couple of hundred CNC machines. About 25% of them is the high-end ones of Citizen that they've got. Now, those the normal CNC machines are about in the 15 lakh bracket. The ones that they do with Citizens is about 70-75 lakh rupees is the cost. The advantage with the Citizen machines is it can do in 2 minutes what on the normal CNC machine, because it has to pass through various processes, takes about 7 minutes to do. The other advantage is they can put a complete bar up to 38 mm inside a CNC machine, inside the Citizen CNC machine, and it comes out as a final product. But they have that, but they have the restriction of the bar, but they have the restriction of the because it can't carry beyond a certain weight. So this is one thing. Just 1 second, sorry. They have the entire process. What they've done is they've got it in-house. Both their factories in Chakan as well as Chennai are situated, like the one in the main factory in Chakan is situated with the same, they share the wall with Omega. And even in Chennai, they are about 2 kilometers away only from the factory of Omega. What that helps them is basically about 5-7 rupees a kilo, the transportation charges they save on. They don't need to really keep the inventory, too high, because they are about 4-5% of Omega's total sale of about 800 crores is what OBSC buys from Omega. So, they are sure of the quality that they're getting. They are sure of, timely deliveries. And even during COVID, where people were shut down, their factory work was on, because being right next door to Omega, there was no problem in raw material supply. The other advantage they are getting is because Omega has state-of-the-art laboratories, state-of-the-art testing center, They not only test their steel, they also test the brass and the other material that they are using in-house in the laboratory of Omega. The entry barriers that are there is that number one, that in this kind of industry is number one, it takes a long time to get get a customer. The process to the revenue is also about 18 months. The advantage is because of Omega's, Omega's being such about a 50-year-old brand, 50-year-old brand in the steel industry, they get an idea of the steel price movements, and it makes it easier for them to stock up if they need to at a lower, at the lower time or lower price points, and accordingly they can, plan their inventory movement. They've also now got into investment casting, which is a little more capital intensive and a little energy intensive business. They are getting into cold forging and hot forging. They have used some money, about 10 crores out of the money raised in the IPO is going towards the forging business. The story behind the story behind their progress so far, which started in from a 6 crore top line the first year to 115 crore in the last revenue year, is the fact that they have consistently wanted to work on quality, consistently been upgrading the technology, and consistently working harder towards even increasing the percentage of export. So last year, they clocked 17% of total as export. This year, it is already at about 28% of their total business. They are also planning to increase capacity in Chennai, where they have about 35% only occupancy of the factory yet in terms of machinery. So they have enough growth prospects there to put up new machines. They have, through Tata's, they are actually supplying to one of the leading EV manufacturers based out of US. They are not, supposed to divulge the name because they are a tier 2 supplier there through the Tatas. So they supply about 24 components to the Tatas. The Tatas do the assembly, and then it's shipped out. So their factory has been visited, approved by even that EV supplier, who they hope in the near future will be setting up shop in India, and that will help them greatly. They are also they're also putting up a plant in Sanand, where they have got a buyback agreement almost signed with the company that wants about 25,000 suspension rods a day. That plant is, they're yet under discussion. I think it should start in about FY27. The management has told us that, they want to drive revenue to the 400 crore, 500 crore target, for which they said they would definitely need more space. With the kind of setup they have now, they can do 200, 210 crores very easily. They're right now doing about 93% of their sales is auto-based, and 7% comprises of defense, marine. They're doing a little bit of telecom and solar. Now, their final target, they want to move to, increase their defense percentage and marine percentage in their mix. They've got a lot of solar inquiries also. Marine, they have tied up with a company based out of US, which is one of the largest in the yacht and small engine boats division. They are supplying 2 or 3 parts to them. The COGS there is about 20% only. So the margins are huge, because these are, what they are doing is they're doing parts of luxury yachts where price is not really of the essence. The quality is, the timely delivery is. They have also made a warehouse in the US for timely deliveries to customers. Because US forms a large part of their business. They also have got approval from BEL and have started supplying parts to them in the defense. They were the F1, and what in fact has happened is the F2 also said we won't be able to supply. So BEL wants them to take over that part also of the F2, which will again lead to further margin increase. They have got the zero defect supplier award from BEL also. These guys, they're also working on development of parts for supply to the aerospace division. They supply in the telecom. They supply the antennas in the towers, which though is actually a cyclical business, because every time when the antennas are put up, when the towers are put up is when the chunk of the business comes. The margin improvements for OBSC is coming because also of the shift towards defense, the shift towards marine. EV also in their auto plays about a 50% part, because they realized that over the next 8-10 years, it's going to become a major component, a major part of the auto industry. So their main purpose also of the Chennai plant was to cater to the EV industry guys. Their biggest competitor is based out of Faridabad, a company called Victoria Auto Parts. Now, Victoria does about a turnover of about 1,000 crores. So there's a long runway even for OBSC. They share the same top 5 clients. There is Victoria is more into exports, and the margins. We can see that the margins that can come with Victoria is something that OBSC can duplicate, given their backward integration from the steel part, This is just the working of a bull-bear case scenario. Now, when we asked the management regarding their payment cycles, so when they are shipping to the US or when they are shipping to the marine, in exports, it's 90 days after receipt of goods. Locally, to these companies, it's 45 to 60 days. In the defense is, it's some part of it is advanced also. Because of aluminium now being used in a lot of the EV products, there is some risk there because Omega doesn't supply the aluminium part to these guys. This is the financial summary. You can just go through this part of the CAGR too. Okay, so the biggest advantage for these guys is they've started moving everything in-house. So the forging is there, the machining is there, the investment casting is what they're doing inside. Because of that, the kind of businesses that approach them is also increasing. So they're doing some part of the Vande Bharat trains is come to them. They are getting more parts from BEL to manufacture, sample, and deliver. Yes. They have the biggest advantage for them is with jobs in the manufacturing in the auto shutting down in Germany, which is a huge part of their market. Lot of businesses shifting to India, and because people don't want to really depend only on China, so people like them with lot of with a 50-55-year-old advantage of the Omega's presence is what is helping OBSC Perfection get a lot of orders. having a company like ZF, where they are a listed vendor, and ZF having about 250 factories all over the world. They are now listed in about 9 of them. So the runway, even with ZF, is huge. What they've also done is they've got a brilliant team. They've got their marketing guy now come in, who's an ex-Bosch guy. They are increasing. They are looking at employing a full-time CFO. So it takes a lot of work which is every day away from Saksham Lika, who then works harder on getting more sales. The process that they follow is every piece basically is checked before it gets out, and they are automating the process of checking. So they are removing the human element out of their company, right? They've also applied to the authorities in Pune for about a 4-acre land. What they want to do is they want to move 2 of their factories into that land and then have, get down cost of production, get down expenses, and, get down overheads. But yesterday on the call, what he also said was that the way we are growing, the way the orders are coming, we may not need to move those 2 factories, and that 4-acre plot may just become somewhere where we'll have to extend our growth. They are very, very motivated to do well, because even the family vertical of OBSC is getting into, they are already India's 3rd largest EV mobility manufacturers. A lot of parts are now going to be sourced from OBSC Perfection by the Omega EV chain. So this synergy with the Omega group helps OBSC tremendously. And the mix, once it changes, with the defense and with the aerospace and the marine coming in, where the percentage starts becoming higher, is because he wants to do marine about 10%, wants to do about 20-25% defense. They're also approaching people that are in the coverage for trying to get business from there, because the kind of precision work that they can do on their machines is what is really going to help with the machines that they have, getting things into the coverage or any place where the tolerance is absolutely minuscule, is what's really going to drive the growth further with these guys. That's my basic presentation. Anything else anybody wants to ask, please, more than welcome.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there is a marine industry. They're actually also supplying to marine in US as well, right?
Correct.
So is this catering to retail segment, or is it more into commercial?
So I'll tell you what. So basically, they have a tie-up with a Canadian company that's based out of the US. Now that's supposed to be the largest yacht and small engine boats part supplier in the world. So they are basically supplying to them. They are not supplying to individual guys. They are supplying to the company, which then in turn is doing the supply. But they are also increasing the list of parts that have come to them now is going way further than what they were earlier supplying. So they were earlier supplying only the engine, the steering wires and things like that. Now they have got another 4 or 5 items that they are developing.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay, for the crisp presentation.
Yeah, but thanks a lot for the opportunity. Yeah, but anybody wants to ask anything, see, I've done the Nuama visit with them. I went to the plant also. Anybody wants to offline get more information? See, this is more or less everything that's available online, right? But if any insights anybody needs regarding the other developments that are there, I would be more than happy to take it offline. Yep.
Yeah.
And let me say, I'm very biased because I'm invested in the company. So just let me put that as a caveat. Yeah.
Definitely. So why? So there are two other companies, right? RK Forge and Balu Forge also.
Correct.
Do understand? But there is no comparison with respect to that. Mostly we are talking about some other companies in the forging space. So are they into different domains, or this is
No, they are. See, the
because
thing is,
this
forging is something that they're developing now. So some parts which require require that precision, then they are going to only, especially in the hot forging, that is when they're going to do it. There are some technical parts, I'm not very sure. The ones that are there are some parts only which they are using for the forging. I honestly because someone asked him whether Balu Forge and these guys become RK Forge become competitors to them. So he was categorically he was like, it doesn't make they're not competitors with these guys at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Is someone's asking, is RACL GearTech a competitor? No, RACL is into totally different thing. RACL GearTech is more in the gear part. These guys are basically doing the machining and the tooling. And RAC, I'll tell you, so there are two layers to being an auto component supplier, either a tier 1 supplier or you're a tier 2 supplier. Tier 2 supplier would be when you're an indirect supplier, like they are to that huge American company for EV, where they're supplying through the Tatas. And tier 1 is when you're a direct supplier. So what they'd be supplying to 10 Echo and guys like ZF here. Also, the other the other thing is that finally their vision is to get into a full assembly line, right? They want to, which is what yesterday on the spaces also, there was Mr. Saksham Likha as well as Mr. Uday Narang. So that's what they have mentioned. What they want to do is get this into, finally make an assembly line whereby beyond a certain thing, they don't want to do the CNC work inside, right? So what they want to do is really, then they will outsource the CNC part and get the whole assembly line done here. I'm also asked, is there a slowdown in auto industry? Will it have any growth? See, what they're doing is that they are shifting the mix, right? They are moving more towards defense because they realize they have the capability, they have the financial power to do that. Also, see the slowdown in auto industry. See, they are yet in a nascent. They are only about 110, 115 crore turnover company, right? Whereas, the bigger guys, and what they are doing is they are not taking away part of some existing manufacturer in India. What they're actually doing is factories that are shutting down in Europe because they are supplying to Slovenia, they're supplying to Poland, they're supplying to even Slovakia. Factories that are shutting down there, that work is coming here. So it's not that they are having to, taking some part of some suppliers' work from India, but they are getting a lot of work out of Europe, a lot of work from new customers, like when they added ZF, 10 Echo, and Marelli and all these guys. So as of right now, the auto industry slowdown, which is not going to have much effect on them because they're not really at a bigger base. But in another 5-7 years, God alone knows. But by that time, they are, like I said, they're already planning, working on more value-added products. That is their final goal. They want to get what they also say is the more higher you go in the value products in the auto also, the less competition there is because the precision is so high. So, and yes, so the operational margins are, see, they have a huge advantage because tied up with the Omega family, they do not need to, keep inventory. They do not need to keep, they can do a just-in-time thing. Also, what happens is all the companies that approve the Omega family as the supplier of the steel, then naturally come to them to do the tooling part or to do the conversion part. Yes, Mr. Manikant, defense and marine will be a much higher business. Like I said, marine, their COGS is only about 20%. So you can imagine the kind of margin that is there. Regarding defense, like I said, they were L1. So when we were joking with them, what he said is, I am basically seen as an auto component guy. The guys in defense normally quote at 50%. My mindset works with as defense. So I quote with 30%. So he says it drives away competition very easily. Yogesh ji, see, the thing is, they are a big group, they're not a small, so OBSC Perfection is just a small cog in the wheel of the entire Omega group, right? Do they have people in place? Like I said, they managed to pick up a guy from Bosch who supposedly was also doing some work for ZF also. And see, when they're doing stuff in this business of tooling, of machinery, you constantly need new stuff, right? Because any product cycle runs about 4-5 years, right? So if I'm making something for Maruti, say for one product line, wo 4-5 saal mein, if that thing goes, that car is now put out of production by Maruti, I need to be already in the works to develop a new product for the next line that they're coming in, right? And like I said, they are converting their, or they're already working on making their final checks fully automated, right? Now, when I went to their plant, in fact, there is so much work that the outside part of their compound, they had to make a temporary shed for the packing and everything. They are following, their owned premises in Chakan is about 1.4 acres. That also is falling short, this despite having 2 other factories. So work is coming to them because they also because of the strength of the group. That's in fact a positive for them. And yep, see, everyone wants to try and get into the defense part. And with BEL, when they won the L1, they won a zero defect supplier award from BEL. I don't really think that they're doing too much things, because the growth and the bigger percentage profit will come out of definitely of the shift, whatever's there with defense, with marine, with now they're working on also the solar part, because the guys are approaching them, so to do the machining, the tooling, and to do the precision parts for the solar also. Yep.
So one quick question on that. I joined late. On the ammunition part, like on the defense side, are they? So who are their competitors?
See, I'll tell you, they were L1. See, they what they are doing is they started with the mortar, which is a frequently used thing, right? Because they need to keep practicing with that. So they've just started with that. The L2 was a unlisted company based out of Ahmedabad or something. I have the name somewhere. I'll probably just recollect it and give it to you. And then they have said we can't supply. So in what parts that they are getting into, as of right now, with BEL at least, there seems no competition, because BEL has told them to take over the L2 part also.
Got it. Okay. So no major players are in such field, so it's just they're running the bidding and doing it. Okay. But
No,
what about the...
So these contracts with BEL, see, BEL contracts normally span 10 years. What they do is 2 years at a time, right? But so they have won it for the next 2 years, and it's about a 2.5 crore per month order, right? So that is going to add to them. Initially, I think they've going to do 50 lakhs first, then another 1 crore. Once they're settled, then it's about 2.5 crore rupees a month.
Okay. Thank you.
Hanji. Anything anybody else needs to know, or I'll stop the screen share, right?
Yeah, please. So other questions we'll take in the chat if
No
people
problem.
have it.
All right, yeah. Thanks a lot, yeah.
So we'll move to, thanks you. Yeah. So we'll move to next presenter, Sumit. Sumit, I have given you co-host. We'll start sharing and see it's working.
Yeah, thanks, Munit. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this platform, Puneet. Thanks for this opportunity as well. Now, a very different kind of screen you might be seeing, that I've shared without any name, without anything. Not sure how interactive this session can be. Otherwise, generally, I like interactive session where, we don't keep questions or we don't keep points to the last. But yeah, let's see. Uh, so yeah, thanks once again for this. There are a few photographs on my slides. Just view these slides, everybody, and think of the company, think of something which connect all these photos. So here is one photograph. This is the another photograph. I'll stop here. And does any connection you get between these two photographs, or shall I move forward? Any comments, questions on this?
Wedding.
Sorry.
Yeah, we
Wedding.
have something in the chat
Yeah,
regarding drones, wedding.
drone
Drones,
photography basically.
drones, weddings. Yeah, so here is a wedding thing happening. Here is some, engagement kind of ring or something is there. uh okay, yeah, it is. There is one correct answer. Maybe when I move to this next picture, maybe things will be more clearer and you'll get the idea. Yeah, this and then this and then this. Okay, so yes, today's talk is about a drone company. Like this particular talk is about a drone company, and it is IdeaForge. uh, it is not, I'm not sure how much everybody has been with IdeaForge or tracking IdeaForge. Why I have picked this company, I'll come to that. But before that, hello everyone, I'm Sumit Anand. And again, putting on the disclaimers, which I have not put again on the slide, is that I'm not a SEBI registered analyst or any related person like that. And this particular presentation is solely for the educational and general discussion purpose, nothing beyond that. Okay. So yes, this particular company is IdeaForge, which is a drone manufacturing company, and I'm sure most of you or all of you might be knowing that drone is something which is coming big time in India and globally as well. Okay, as we saw in these pictures, drone is catching fancy of each and everybody that is in our knowledge or wherever we can see. This is something like, when a computer came maybe 30 years, 40 years back, 35 years back, hey, I wanted that computer, I wanted a, desktop at my home. There's something kind of, even today, a children, my kid who is like 8 years old, he says that I want a drone. I don't know how much he understands about a drone, but he wants a drone in his hand, playing with it. But again, it's not only about, the drone is not only about playing purpose. As you see in this photograph, it is much beyond that. And we have seen how beautifully or how perfectly US US armed forces, they use the drones with much precision. And we have several examples globally with pinpoint attack capabilities of US drones, etc. So it's not only the drone is not only about playing in the hands of the kids, but much beyond that, and also on the military side as well. Coming to Indian drone industry, in the past years until 2023, the drone industry was growing somewhere around 22% CAGR, uh, which is projected for the next 5 6 years to grow around 17% CAGR. And out of that, there are various segments: consumer, government, and law enforcement, commercial, and military, out of which commercial segment is expected to grow with the highest CAGR, that is 44.2. That means doubling in what, less than or around 1.5 years, kind of. So that's the growth that we are talking about. And drones currently, whatever we have seen, is mostly and predominantly for this military use, somewhat in the government and law enforcement, but mostly in the military use, that I'll say, that drone is being used. So if you see going forward, where the growth which has just started for the drone industry, the majority of the growth will come from the commercial segment, which is like years to come, years to have the ecosystem in place. Again, if I say the drone industry where we are today is like EV industry we were talking 6 7 years back. I remember the buzzword of 2016 2017, where I was looking for, I was searching for this EV stocks, and I came across Goldstone Infra, which is today Olectra Green Tech. If you see the share price of Olectra Green Tech, you can imagine what investing in Electra Green Tech 6 7 years back would have, how much money you would have made today. So my idea of any stock picking is, catch a stock young, be in the sunrise sector, see where the growth potential are. There might be multiple players. That is a challenge, but yes, among among the many companies, if we are able to identify the right stock, with the right conviction of the management and the growth, we can definitely make good buck uh, coming to your account. Yeah. So yes, again, this is about the growth that is we are expecting. The ecosystem that we have, material suppliers are there. If you see this particular industry, you won't find a lot of nuts and bolts, pieces, processes throughout the value chain. It's a drone is a very small thing. It's very easy. Anybody, you have a lot of online YouTube videos where you can make a flying drone out of any scrap, but and not much of a material or parts goes into making a drone. That's the reason why it says plastic, carbon fibers, wires, screws, nuts, bolts. But the important thing comes here, where that's the main heart and brain of the drone: semiconductors, electronic components, batteries, most importantly, the sensors. That's the part suppliers. Okay, coming to drone manufacturers in India, we have what is happening in Indian context is there are drone manufacturers. There are few of them who are solely having the full capability of manufacturing the drone. Most of the company, either they are collaborating or they are buying a company which is a niche in the segment, or they are small. They are going, the bigger companies, they are going and buying out, acquiring those companies to build their capabilities in house. But the core business of a company might be something else, but they want to venture into the drone business, and they're acquiring these companies. But about the IdeaForge, they are solely from the scratch. They're only the drone manufacturer companies. Okay. Further into the drone manufacturing, there are service providers, repair and maintenance providers, ground station operators, which is very important. Ground station operators, if I say, Prime Minister Modi has talked about drone Didi uh, thing that is coming up, where the females population of India, like a lot of them, maybe mostly in the rural areas, will be given the training how to fly a drone and how they can use for their work. What kind of work? Maybe agriculture or something. Okay. So those are the ground station operators, very important. Flying a drone is like, pilot of an aircraft. Okay, which is, if you don't have a good pilot, you will hear drones crashing here and there, maybe on your rooftop or maybe in your balcony or something. Lucky you. Okay. End users, military and government organizations, farmers, great. Logistics and transportation companies, I haven't seen anything in India, but I have seen videos, maybe those are on trial basis or something. Oil and gas refinement companies, definitely, because identifying the right place, etc., is really important. Construction and mining companies, very important. I myself, starting off my career was in ACC Cements. I have seen the mines. I visited those mines. I've seen all the big truckloads and equipments mining the limestone kind of thing. So I know how these mining pits are, and it's not easy for a human to like walk around. So yes, construction and mining companies, wildlife agencies, who wants to encounter a lion or a tiger, in search of anything, or finding a endangered, finding a hunter in the jungle or anything. So wildlife agencies use drones for a lot of purpose. Academics institutions, not sure. Research and organizations may be very niche. Consumers, okay, yeah, it's still these last 3 points are still to be visible to us moving around. Okay. Applications, military, commercial, government, and law enforcement, as earlier mentioned. Consumer applications like, again, agriculture, infrastructure, delivery services. Each day you might be getting a Zomato or a Swiggy or a Zepto or anything like that to your home, a pizza delivery. Maybe in future nobody will visit you, something will land directly in your balcony or at your doorstep, or at the premises of your locality or gated society. So something of that will be happening uh, sooner, but not quite far, with the advancement of technology and even the adoption of technology. uh, why all these are important, and why the advancement and the adoption will be faster? Because of cost efficiency and operational effectiveness of the drone. Very simple, traffic. We are, most of us, or maybe a lot of us, might be knowing about the
We
traffic.
are losing you, Sumit.
Hello, is it fine?
Yeah, now better. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, sorry for that. Yeah. So as I mentioned, like a lot of us might be knowing of the traffic situations in the metro cities, Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, all the choked ones. And you might have seen a Zomato or a Swiggy person, the way they are driving through the traffic, risking their lives, risking, the other fellow commuters' life. So that's on the effectiveness and the safety, etc., where the drones will be flying directly without the hassle of a traffic, and cost efficiency wherever the human is involved. Cost is, a big criteria, big factor. Okay. Along with the human scum, the safety, their insurance, everything falls on the company's pocket, which affects the operating costs, etc. Yeah, so cost efficiency. The opportunities: quicker last mile deliveries, operating expenses, navigate traffic constraints. Oh, maybe I jumped it, uh, pointing towards this particular point, but here are the things. Operational expenses, navigate traffic constraints, cut down on vehicular emissions, as we are uh, becoming aware of.
For me, Sumit, it's splitting in between your voice in between.
Still, just a
Yeah,
moment.
for me. What about others? Yeah.
E- Everybody, it is clear, or like it is
Yeah,
breaking?
it is clear for me.
It
Yeah,
is
same.
clear for
Okay.
us, sir.
Sure,
Clear
sure.
for us.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah. Uh, where are the opportunities more? Is the real-time traffic monitoring, very important. Surveying and mapping. What is surveying and mapping is, what's the landscape, what's the topography, uh, and mapping how you develop all those theoretically gathered data points into visualizations is the mapping, growing indigenization of military, uh, because drones are predominantly being used in the military avenues, and that is the reason, uh, through the Atmanirbhar movement of Prime Minister Modi, you see that how rapid growth is there in the defense sector in India. And it is very important in terms of drones. Why it is important to have all the manufacturing capabilities and the surveillance systems to be within the country, because all these are data points that the drone captures. Everybody know it's very common nowadays to say that data is the new oil, kind of. And if you have your in-house data, nothing better than that. That's the reason why we have Map My India as well, government promoting that. So again, drones are capturing all kind of data. They have all the information. The companies are having all the information of your geography, all the topography, etc., and how your consumer behaves. So all these capabilities, if you have in-house within the country, that's really important. So, and with the population that we have. Okay. Challenges are limited payload capacity, varied and difficult climatic conditions, and terrain capabilities. uh, why this climatic conditions? Because even an aircraft, you might be hearing that a bird hit, gone. Yeah. It can't fly over near a tall building, or maybe through the Himalayas, or in those regions it's very difficult, maybe windy or anything. So that applies to the drone industry as well. The battery efficiency, how much a drone can fly, maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours, maybe 45 minutes, half an hour. So that battery efficiency is a challenge. Drone designs, all the aerodynamic designs that are really important. So those things are a challenge for any company in India or worldwide. So these are the challenge. Regulatory wise, why I haven't put regulatory wise, it is a challenge, or maybe in transition, where it is becoming an opportunity for the industry, because government is quite focused, and this particular government wants to make India a drone hub by 2030, which is like what, 5 6 years down the line, not far away. So I'll say that we are transitioning. So regulatory might be, some hiccups might be there, but again, that is supportive for the industry. So I haven't put that regulatory stuff either in opportunity or challenges, but yes, that remains to be, you need to keep a vigil on it. Okay, coming to the company, before we go into all these, or maybe it's a self-readable small points, IdeaForge. Anybody, where did you see a first drone? In your neighborhood, at your home? Anybody, the first drone, that where have you seen? Anywhere, physically or maybe visually, or like, digitally? Have you seen anybody? Okay, fine. Uh, I have seen the first drone in the movie Three Idiots. Okay, that was my first encounter with a drone, something flying like in your hands, and it can fly anywhere through your balcony, through your corridor. So that's the first time I saw a drone. Okay, and that was on in the cinema hall, on screen. That particular drone was built by IdeaForge. Okay, so there it comes, where the IdeaForge started, and they are the pioneers and the market uh, in the drone industry. To what is VTOL? VTOL is vertical takeoff and landing. It is important that even helicopter needs some space, even the aircraft needs a runway, but all these drones, it can take off vertically through any space or gap. So that is how IdeaForge has been. Again, IdeaForge has made high altitude drones in India, which can go into the Leh Ladakh region, all the glacier stuffs. So they have made all their drones so robust that it can go to high altitudes as well. Large drone technology and a manufacturing player in India, whether it be the hardware or the software, you know, of the drone, they have everything in house. Again, it might uh, it might be a good thing from some point of view. It can be a deterrent for the company's growth. How it can be, maybe while on the go of the presentation we can talk about it. Deterrent, I'll say why it is deterrent, because developing everything in house, that is one thing. R&D, working on it, is one thing. But again, manufacturing is another ball game altogether. All these cost efficiencies and everything goes into it. These days, or like since a few years, you might have heard about contract manufacturing. That is not done by IdeaForge. They have everything in house. So that adds to their, it can be a deterrent for their growth. Maybe in future they do contract manufacturing, I hope, which will add to uh, its model of business, which will be asset light if they do a contract, if they give it for contract manufacturing. Currently, they have everything in house. They have a manufacturing capability in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, that is there. Uh, it's globally dual use drone categories. Not everyone. So all these are the ranks. These are the numbers that IdeaForge has manufacturers in India, the largest drone technology and the manufacturing. They are the globally fifth rank. Okay. Uh, Dual use in the civil and military stuff. That gives the the term dual use for them.
This
Operational
presentation
metrics.
is not visible.
Screen is not visible.
Yes.
Is it? How did it drop? Okay, let me reshare. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the number of flights completed by the customers of IdeaForge. Just imagine, less than 4 minutes, an IdeaForge takes off wherever it might be. You know, so every 4 minutes or less than that, an IdeaForge drone takes off. This is a bit old data, I'll say. They have crossed, 1 lakh flights launched in FY25. So this is like 3 months back data, kind of. Patents that they have, 38 or 36, they have already been granted. 34, which is in the later slide. So these are the patents that they have till now, okay, or applied, well recognized in the industry. They have won several awards, so that says a lot about the company, that they are working really good. Coming to the 15 years of building along with the customers, their journey, they started in 2004. Founders built the first quadrupter drone to enter a college fest. I'll come to the management and say that how this college fest comes into picture. That's when the company was incorporated. Again, this says about the, that the prizes or the contracts that they have got, financing. Again, first round of institutional placement by Celesta Capital, Qualcomm Asia, Qualcomm, you might be knowing, and our own Infosys. Our own Infosys has been uh, in some kind of news these days, kind of working hours or maybe something else. But yes, Infosys, everybody knows how good Infosys are. So yes, Infosys is one of the stakeholders in IdeaForge, and they were the one of the early investors in IdeaForge. Sorry, maybe I skipped. Here is a few of the things. A lot of the terms and words are, quite technical. So maybe, it will be difficult to understand, but I have few videos going forward which might help you understand their capabilities. So we can ignore if you don't understand the the technical terms that is there. But here it says, early prototype of VTOL UAV featured in a popular Bollywood movie, that is Three Idiots. Okay, that is mentioned here. Developed one of the world's smallest and lightest autopilots. Sale of first drone to state police. Okay, now again, IdeaForge, when I say state police, IdeaForge is it's one of the client is the the most important and the biggest client is Government of India and its several departments. Okay, all the central forces units, etc. So that is again one of a challenge, I'll say. Coming back to these stuffs. First company to participate in demonstration of 5G enabled UAV at the Indian Mobile Congress, bagged the contract of US dollar 18 million for their Switch UAVs. One largest mini V2L contract against global competitors. That says volume, that speaks volume about the company participating in the global arena, global platform. They have won this contract. Second round of institutional investment got listed last year. Sorry, not last year. July 23. Now we are in 25. Okay, this 93% of listing day gain, it doesn't stand anywhere. The company's price is below the IPO price of the IdeaForge. Okay, so that's again might be a deterrent for many investors. Key management. If you see the profile of the key management, IIT, 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 IIT doesn't guarantee much for the company's much for a company's growth, but again, IIT is a benchmark. We can't ignore that. Okay, and this is where these guys are the founders and still the promoters of the company, and that is where the college fest and college competition came, where they won the award. Here that was mentioned, the college fest kind of. So because all these people when in college they started this company, like they built the prototype, they entered the competition and they won it. So yeah, all these promoters, founders are you know technically savvy, technology savvy people, uh, which is required, which is the most important. Being technology as at heart is the most important thing when you have, when you want to have drones in commercial use. Okay, not in the hands of the kids, but when in commercial use, technology has to be in the heart of the place. Chief Financial Officer Vipul Joshi, again he's BCom honors, MBA from University of Business and Finance, Switzerland. Similarly, like other quite qualified people, again the company is not that old. So the challenge or the testing of the management, uh, I'm not sure if that cycle is complete. Maybe a lot of companies are there, 40 years old, 30 years old, but this company is quite new. If we say like not even 20 years completely, those challenges, those competitions, because the drone industry is just starting, so we are not sure as how much competition, how much everything they have faced, and they are mature. But yes, like they have sustained this 20 years where almost two downturns in the economic cycle uh, they have seen. Okay, they're still growing, yeah, with few hiccups here and there. Okay, now to coming to the portfolio and the IdeaForge forte. If you see, they are into this green box. This is what they have, the capability they have. Micro, small, mini, last mile logistics kind of. This is the gray area is the place where they want to be. They don't have a nano thing, they don't have a tactical thing, middle mile. This is something, that they don't want to be, and this is quite advanced. Maybe nobody in India is there. US has that capability. Zen Technologies, I'll have to check if they are into these things. Zen Technologies, you might know, it has grown a lot. Okay, so this is what they are, this is what they aim to be. These are something they don't want to even see, okay, in the near future. What each of these does, they are more or less the same, but depending on the geography, depending on, if you see, inspection, mapping, logistics, surveillance, they are into mostly all these stuffs, which doesn't say that, hey, how this micro thing is different from the last mile logistics or small or mini, how different. But it mainly depends on the area where it is operating, whether it is operating in congested, like urban cities, or they are operating in high altitude environment, or rough or tough conditions, like Leh Ladakh, or maybe all the glacier regions of India. So mainly the design and capabilities depend on the area where a drone is operating. Okay, otherwise more or less they have the same capabilities with changes here and there. Okay. Strong product portfolio. These are the product. Again, the names are different. These are the civil products that they have. These are the dual use, where it's both civil and defense, and these are the capabilities which are for defense specifically. And if you see the civil and defense, what majorly differentiates them is the range, as how far they can fly, and also the flight time, and what they do. So all these civil stuff, security and surveillance, mapping, land survey, mining area planning, etc. If you come to the defense side, border security, maybe they are flying near the border areas, public safety, coastal patrols, anti-smuggling, and long range, high altitude kind of thing. So yeah, these are the stuffs. And again, in terms of payload, in terms of zoom, the camera qualities, civil ones might be having lesser camera qualities, or zooming, like it says 5x optical zoom. If you see here, for the defense one, it is 27x optical zoom and 25x optical zoom. You might say that, hey, maybe some cameras these days, some mobile phones these days have 100x optical zoom. So what is better, this drone or having that camera, having that mobile in hand? Maybe, yeah, time will tell. These are important in the drone areas, in the drone industry. What is important is the product development, R&D, never ending, because the technological changes that's going on, you need to be up to your toes. So these are some technological or product developments that are going on. Uh, Next gen Netra and switch platforms, end-to-end workflows on flight cloud. Again, as I mentioned, all these things, all the data that is there, all it's being stored in-house. So they are having these cloud platforms as well. Last mile logistics platform, flight testing. Because IdeaForge is the only company which has the entire UAS system. US is, unmanned aircraft system, like end to end, not only the drone, but also the ground equipments, storage of the data, everything end to end thing is being built by IdeaForge. That is what it differentiates with the other peers. Maybe not everybody is having the end to end equipment manufacturing in house. Okay. Prototyping fog penetration radar. You see, like on road in Delhi, if I take the example, that is what it's there in the news these days. You don't have the visibility of 20 meters, 10 meters kind of on a bad morning. But again, the fog penetration, which becomes really important, they have this capability, or they are working on that. It's being prototyped. Integration of AI, like you can't ignore AI, and without AI you can't think of these drones being a success. You need to have, and you will see the videos. I'll show it to you guys. Tech enablement, DaaS is a drone as a service. Everything, you might be hearing software as a service, cloud as a service. So drone as a service, maybe they have started with DaaS. That is the latest service that IdeaForge has started, and it might be one of the successful things which will see Forge's growth going forward, because they have started. You don't want to own a drone for anything. Maybe drone as a service. IdeaForge owns a drone, but I take the service of its drone. That is what is required in the business. It's like Ola, Uber. Like Ola provides the cab service, maybe some other is there. So you don't own a car or anything. You just take the service. You're happy with that, which makes your business asset light. So they have started with DaaS, which will see a lot of traction as the ecosystem grows, as the adoption of the drones starts progressing. Next gen technologies we have talked about and stuffs. Building the future ecosystems. As I mentioned, drone as a service, they have already started, but again, the adoption is low. Growth percentage might be high, but again, the penetration is slow. uh, but there is a huge opportunity, yeah, which is there. So this is how they have grown. Payloads is one of the important. They have betting on Indian technologies. They are tying up with other companies in the area, in the ecosystem. Yeah. To Before coming to peer analysis, let me show you some capabilities of IdeaForge. Let me know if you can see this video, this
Yes.
YouTube video. Yeah, let me play this. Say, if you see, where I don't even, if given to me through this photo, I won't even able to identify a road where it is, or maybe what is this. But see from how far the drone is capturing the image, and it says the vehicular movement. It is absolutely pinpointed, able to identify the vehicular movement. All these green dots, if you see, I'm not even able to capture these green dots. If you see, it is able to pinpoint a moving vehicle. Okay, and it is identifying. So human activity, movement. Yeah, hard to spot a suspect. Again, you see, like, yeah, there are people, but maybe through their body language, through their stuff, using AI, etc., all the behavioral models, they can identify a suspect as well through far off. These are not near, these are very far off drones that are flying. Thermal camera, if you can see the movement of things that happen through the border areas. This is still quite, easily another video if I show it to you. People detection and counting. It's not only about people detection. I can see, yeah, there are a lot of people, but counting them, oh my God, that's a real challenge. Just imagine, Kumbh Mela that everybody is talking about, 40 crores, 40 crore people visiting Kumbh Mela. That is expected number this year. Identifying so many people precisely, counting them, keeping a track of them manually, or just through simple CP plus camera or any camera. Again, sorry for taking that name, but any other camera that is CCTV camera that is there, but identifying high quality stuff. Just see, you can see some red square kind of bracket kind of thing where they are identifying and even counting the people. So that capability IdeaForge has in their in their pocket or in their bag. So it's not only counting the people but also monitoring their behavior, analyzing their behavior. Again, this is detecting people at night time through thermal and other stuffs as well. A drone flying in the area regions where you can't put up a CCTV. That kind of capabilities, IdeaForge has. And target 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 tracking. Target tracking, again, you might have heard US using a drone killing somebody in a Middle East area. Uh, that capability we don't have, but monitoring a target to identify a target, you lock that target. Maybe you don't attack it, you don't have that capability, but locking the target, following it, you can do that, and informing maybe the security forces to come and catch them up or follow them. So that kind of capabilities, again, idea for. So these are the capabilities. It's not only the hardware that IdeaForge has, but also the software, that is required to manage it, that IdeaForge has. So this is about the company. Peer analysis, why I have only taken Zen Technologies, because Zen Technologies is a lot discussed, or maybe everybody knows about Zen Technology because of its rapid growth in share price, rapid rise. That's why I have taken it. Other players, if I see, they're not they don't have they have the drone capabilities, but they are not pure play drone companies. Maybe they have acquired, they have not started as a drone company, but other defense areas they ventured into it. But IdeaForge, again, from the very scratch, drone thing, Zen Technologies, because of the rise. If I compare IdeaForge and Zen Technologies in comparison in terms of share price, I'm not interested in that at the moment. But on the business side, that's the fundamental thing, that's what I want to compare as of now. I'm not looking for IdeaForge, maybe for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 3 year duration, but maybe a decadal story kind of thing. That's why, mostly interested in the business kind of thing. A market leader in unmanned aircraft system, which I mentioned. It's not only the drone, but all the equipments on the ground as well. It has greater than 50%, market share, ranked fifth globally in the dual use category, that is civil and defense both, which is quite recommendable. Rank 5, come on, it's not India, we are talking about the world. So that is where it is there. As I mentioned, every 4 minutes, less than 4 minutes, a drone, IdeaForge drone, is taking off. In terms of Zen Technologies, it is manufacturing defense training solutions with a 95% market share in tank simulators. Again, Zen Technologies has this anti-drone, capabilities and solutions with them. That is what it differentiates, and maybe the rise is there for Zen Technologies, because so many wars are going on, or maybe even the Indian armed forces, they want to have these capabilities. That's off because China, US, Turkey, Russia, all these have drone technologies, and any country would, if they don't have a drone technology, they'll buy it, which India is doing from the US. But what happens when a adversary drone comes? They want a anti-drone solutions. That is why we are seeing, I believe, I think, I've analyzed, that is why we see Zen Technology rising, because they have this anti-drone solutions. Okay, first, at least protect yourself, protect ourselves from the drones that are coming from the adversary nations. Okay, maybe first buy the military drones from somewhere if you don't have the technology, and slowly build the capability. That is where IdeaForge is coming into play. Okay, they slowly, they're like still into surveillance, etc. products and services, hardware, payloads, and communication systems, software, as I mentioned, hardware and software, both in-house, which makes them, a complete package. But again, as I mentioned, having design or doing R&D about is one thing, but again, manufacturing them, taking care of the manufacturing as well, this is one thing that I don't like. Maybe doing the contract manufacturing would make the business asset light, but currently they don't have any plans of doing getting into giving away the manufacturing to somebody else. Okay, like like Nvidia does, or somebody else does, do the design and development, do the designing of the product. Manufacturing can happen anywhere else, with the capability. As I mentioned, Zen Technologies combat training solutions, anti-drone solutions, also the annual maintenance services of anti-drone solutions. Okay, drone manufacturing, IdeaForge provides and they outsources the manufacturing. Patents 38 since inception, 34 patents are pending. FY24 alone saw 17 patents. Okay, for Zen Technologies, 15 patents were there in FY24. So if you see the complete thing, 72, I don't know, 72 or 78. So that is how good the company is in R&D. And as I was listening to a lot of, I keep listening to a lot of, again, the share market leaders or the guys. And it is, if you are a technological company or, of that capability, or not even that, if you are spending good on R&D, your prospects are really good, because, so I see that, IdeaForge is quite good in that area. Maybe they are not, in terms of share price, not, they are not where it should have been or where somebody would have expected. But yes, business wise, I feel that they will be there. Revenue growth last 5 years, 77% CAGR, 3 years 109. Again, uh, there's a drop. If you see the revenue growth 3 years, sorry, yeah, this is there. Compared to this, in 5 years, IdeaForge is quite ahead. In 3 years also, they're a bit ahead. Okay, in terms of why they are ahead: first mover advantage of manufacturing vertical takeoff, landing unmanned aerial vehicle. It has managed to acquire several defense and civil application orders. But again, as mentioned, defense in Q2 FY24, it was 86%, civil was 14. I'll come back to this. Extensive product portfolio for Zen Technologies, apart from focusing on training, simulation equipments, and high growth anti-drone solutions. As I mentioned, if you don't have the, attack capabilities, at least you can protect yourself, which this Zen Technology has, and Indian Armed Forces is latching onto it. Yes, come on, we'll give you the order. CRISIL rating triple B plus stable, and this I am missing, it is A plus stable. So again, Zen Tech is ahead in the CRISIL rating compared to IdeaForge. This particular, mixture, this particular composition, currently the defense stands at 94, if I remember, or 92. The civil stands at, 6 or 8, kind of. Coming to financials, let me go to the screener. Coming to financials, again, market cap of 505 currently. ROCE, if you see last 3 years, it was good, 24, but it has decreased 12.1 currently. Industry P is 97, uh, very high P. But again, high P doesn't guarantee, that the stock is expensive. Only looking at the P doesn't guarantee whether the stock is expensive. You'll also have to look at the growth opportunities. But It is expensive. 144 for IdeaForge is expensive because their profit is sales is not growing, has not grown significantly or in the last 2 quarters when we compare it sequentially. Okay. Profit growth, yeah, good. Sales growth, 91%. Yeah, that's good. They are good on debt to equity 0.02, which you can say they're debt free. Yeah. Uh, Coming to the share price movement, this is where, if I remember, they hit some 1300 or something, which was 52 weeks ahead, before. This was when August somewhere. So they were in the range of, when it got listed, it was in 1300 range. They are currently in less than sub 600 level, which is lower than the IPO price. But if you see last 6 months kind of not 6 months, 3 months kind of thing, end of October, starting November, if I see, the price seems to be upticking. But I can't say, that this is showing a higher top, higher bottom kind of structure. But yeah, let's see. We'll have to wait on this particular side. Coming to quarterly results, if you see from here, it is declining. 105 CR in March quarter 24, June quarter 86, lower than that. But if you see, YOY, it says that it is still ahead. It is still more, than September. Third quarter is very important according to me. Third quarter and fourth quarter. Why? Because the management has said that this fall of, after 105 CR in March 2024, the decline has been predominantly because the client itself is Government of India, the major client. 86, 89, 90% kind of sales are to the Indian government setup. And they say that because of the election, and because of the code of conduct, in the first quarter and the second quarter, the investment from the government, or the orders from the government, are muted. So that is what the management says. But I'm not sure, how do I take it. For Zen Technologies, the sales are rising. The sales are good, so one thing that have to be, again, if you see, the sales of Zen Technologies are still rising, despite, they also have the contract, their client is also Government of India, so I am not sure how to currently track, if take the words of the management, or whether to add a pinch of salt and then try to digest it. Okay, so that is the reason why third quarter result and fourth quarter result becomes really important for me in the short term, you know uh, to keep a track of them. Expenses, as we know that inflation is high globally for a lot of reasons. The employee cost is also higher for a lot of companies. They are cutting on these costs by, redundancies on the employee side, etc. But on the employee side, IdeaForge is growing. Their employee count is growing. Okay, that's the one of the reason why this sudden spurt in, employee cost you can see, and that has added to the operating profit. Yeah, this last quarter, again, they showed a decline in the profit, but when we come to the YOY or TTM basis, they are still profitable. But yes, again, we'll have to see. We can, as mentioned already, these numbers look really good, but it is not translating into the stock price because of the downturn or the slowdown in their, new order books or etc., which they say is on the back of the election where government was spending less. Again, as we mentioned that they are debt free. Let's see at their cash kind of thing, how they are good here. So if you see, they have a lot of cash on their balance sheet, 268 and almost 200 CR, which they can use, maybe for further growth or as the order book comes. If I was reading the management's stuff, and they have already won, they have got the contract for 300 cr, which is equal to their the yearly sales. So they already have 300 more than 300 cr contract. But again, in how much time that will translate and come into their books, that 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 details were not given. So again, if it comes in next quarter, if it comes to in 2 years time or 5 years time or whatever, that picture was not clear to me. But again, they have that 300 contract size is already with them. Debtor days, again, if you see, it's decreasing. Inventory days, very nice, less than or around 200. Significantly it has dropped over the years, so that's good. Payable days as well coming down, so this seems to be good. But again, ROC front, they were once 45%, but it's declining as of now. As I said about this, okay, promoters, again, promoters have been decreasing, but not a lot. But can be said, FIIs, they have also offloaded it. uh, DIIs also have offloaded some shares, whereas public is gaining on the share front, shareholders front. So this, again, for the promoter side as well, when I compared with Zen Technologies, the promoters of Zen Technologies have been offloading some shares, which is higher in percentage points compared to IdeaForge. But again, still, promoters hold more than 51% share, whereas IdeaForge doesn't. It's sub 30%. So these are some of the concerns. But again, looking at the sunrise sector that IdeaForge is in, looking at the prices that have declined, that have fallen below their IPO price level, and the DAS ecosystem that they have been into, I believe overall IdeaForge is a company to keep a watch. I am to mention, I am invested in it. I have been adding as well. But yes, again, it has to be kept a close watch. And as I mentioned, catching any company young, if the company is in the right direction, it can reap you a lot. Okay. Uh, so yes, that was my take on IdeaForge. Uh, yeah, any questions, if I'll be able to answer. Again, given that this company is quite tech heavy, like it's not generally understandable, the technologies that are there. Even I kind of have a difficulty. But again, reading through it, or having a use case of the technology, uh, which is if it I come across that, it makes my life easier. Through use case, I am able to understand the technology. Otherwise it becomes difficult. So this is one player which we need to keep a track. I'll say that the prices have fallen. It's a good thing for myself. Yeah, I'm adding it. But yes, rest of the guys, like, you keep a watch if you want to. Thank you.
Thanks, Sumit. So there's one question in the chat. Why this gross margin decline is happening? Is it because of cost pressure or competition?
No, so the decline is on the cost side. If you see, as I mentioned, the material cost and also the employee cost, both of it increased.
Okay.
Okay, sales anyways is declining, as they mentioned rightfully, which is with many of the companies management that I've heard, not only IdeaForge, not only the drone industry, but many of them, that that government of India's spend in this election time was minimal or not happening. But yes, on the operating side, if you see, material cost has increased, employee cost has also increased, on the back of that they are adding the employees. Okay,
Hmm.
They are adding the employees. Other companies, they are letting the employees go. But good thing with IdeaForge is that they are adding the employees. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Any other questions by the participants? Okay. If there are no more questions, we can put more in the chat if something more comes up into your mind, guys. Thanks, Sumit, once again. Wonderful presentation. It gives me a nice perspective into our drone industry now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before going for lunch, have a quick quiz, and then we'll go for a lunch, right? So be ready, guys. I hope you guys are able to see my screen now.
Yeah, Puneet, we can.
Okay. So the questions, the first question is on the OBSCP incremental capacity, which is coming up in a range of how much units? Okay, so we will move to the next question. Regarding IdeaForge, there are two products, Ninja and Rhino, and they are for which purpose? Sure. We have got a good number of answers. So if you have missed it, you can still put your answers. And I will go back to the session. So yeah, our morning session is done. 4 wonderful presentations, and we have learned a lot. So we'll connect back maybe by 2 p.m. We will start with Anupji. Anupji is presenting on a recycling and refurbishing company. So we'll meet back at 2. I will be closing the meeting for the morning session, and we'll join back in 30-35 minutes. Yeah.